Hero Spotlight. See you on the battlefield. Hi everyone. The hero we are introducing today is Wonder Woman. Born on the paradise island of Themyscira, Wonder Woman is a proud Amazonian. She holds the indestructible shield in her left hand to protect her from damage, swinging the sword of Athena in her right hand to unleash the mighty attack, waving the lasso of truth to control her enemy, and crossing the bracelets of submission to protect her teammates. Come together, let's shake the battleground. Passive Amazon Shield. After 2 normal attacks, Wonder Woman's next normal attack will throw her shield, dealing an additional true damage to all enemies in its path and slowing their movement speed by 1% for 0.5 seconds. If the shield hits an enemy, Wonder Woman will recover HP. If the shield hits an enemy hero, the HP recovered is tripled. Wonder Woman can also trigger the passive by stomping the ground 3 times. She can leverage her passive to trade with enemy when laning in the early game. First ability, Sword and Shield. Wonder Woman repels her enemies with her sword and shield. Her shield bash deals physical damage and slows enemy movement speed by 2% for 3 seconds. If the shield hits an enemy hero, Wonder Woman will receive 3% damage reduction for 3 seconds. After Wonder Woman bashes with her shield, she can activate the ability again to follow with a sword attack that deals the same amount of physical damage. Enemies hit by the center of her blade suffer double damage. Each attack of Wonder Woman's first ability is actually also a hidden dash ability. With the right direction control, this dash ability.
What is up, Valorians, and welcome back to the Arena of Valor. In India's Summer Championship, I kind of got lost there because of all this juicy teams that will be performing else for tonight. My name is Asra. Of course, here with me now is Riku, and we'll be joined later by the lovely and the irresistible I Request a Duel. So we'll be watching our next match for tonight, which is going to be Serenity versus Infected.
Yes, sirree. For Serenity, here's their lineup. For their offlaner, they have Darth Vader, Mage is Sashwat, Marksman is Light, Jungler is Morpheus, and for their Observer, it's going to be Zipfile.
And Infected, they have Arpin as the offlaner, Bunny as the Mage, SK with the Marksman, Zader on the Jungler role, and You Lost? No, I'm not, as the Observer.
Yes, sirree. For Serenity, we've already watched their previous matches against Potatoes, and they've managed to dominate that series against them as well. As for Infected, this is going to be our first time seeing them in the stream, but they've already been up against Digital Chaos, and they managed to 2-0 them. So that's pretty interesting. So if they dominated in their respective brackets, I'm pretty sure this time around it's going to be a different story, as again we are at our quarterfinals. Things are getting heated up. The intensity of the matches and the quality of the matches is going to be so up there as we're leading to our grand finale tomorrow.
Yeah. And again, we have seen, I believe, Serenity here, who was able to beat Potatoes yesterday in a 2-0, securing that spot in our final matchup. And like I said, Infected did one against Digital Chaos. So looking back into Serenity's picks here, they kind of are just spot this out. So they look to actually be sort of like Unity a while ago, where in yesterday, or I think the days before when they went up against Potatoes, was they look to have a composition that is actually, no, never mind that. They kind of look to go for a position that focuses on getting the Max and the Wonder Woman.
Yeah, I feel maybe I think they're one of the first teams that actually brought up the Max and Wonder Woman, because day number 1 we didn't see any Max and Wonder Woman at all, and then here came Serenity. Hey, we're gonna play the Max and Wonder Woman, and they prioritize it really well. They know how to use this type of team composition, and they make it work. So I'm kind of curious whether or not Infected also uses the same strategy, or perhaps they could go fall back into the classic Sentinel, which is also could go up against a Max in terms of global presence.
All right, so let's get into our first game draft as we see this match unfold between Serenity and Infected. Zephys, right out of the bat, take him away, never again. And Infected might actually go for possibility of, a match ban, or that's gonna leave the Superman though, but Ryoma. So Superman is on the table now.
Yeah, that should be a Superman insta pick unless they don't see it as their priority. So I guess Serenity will just fall back to their old strategy of Max and Wonder Woman. Infected has the choice to take that away, get that Wonder Woman, Superman perhaps, or maybe the Joker, which is a common pick, a common first rotation pick in most of the teams we've seen here at the AOV Summer Championships for India, and this is a no-brainer at all. Superman, one of the very strong side laners that you could pick as well. For L'Oreal, alrighty then. It's I think we've seen so many power L'Oreal players, and I feel like Serenity could easily pull this off.
Man, we are seeing DC come to life. What is this? Like 3 out of the 4 DC heroes that we have for Arena of Valor into the fold already. A Preda and a Zenial here for Infected. So seeing kind of like that, the Plague the Heavens type of comp here. And you're seeing a Violet and the Hover over Alice for Serenity.
Yeah, I love this Alice pick. Every time I see an Alice, a L'Oreal, I really want to see an immediate Alice. Maybe because their synergy is present in their team composition, and as well as their pre-level 4 rotation and 3-man squad is going to be present as well. Not particularly a fan of the Xanis pick if they do lock this in, maybe because they don't have that jungler just yet, but I feel like there were a lot of healthy junglers on the board in terms of meta. I feel like maybe perhaps they could have fell to a Murad pick, as well as a potential Lindis pick, but I guess maybe they needed more melee in their roster with that Joker on board already, so they didn't want to overload it too much with the marksman in their composition.
There was also a possibility of maybe even the Crick now, because I feel like Alice is such a potent support that you kind of want to take her away from the table as soon as possible, right? And Crickneck, I think, does that a little bit better than Xanis, but again, I'm wrong on that one. It just depends on how Infected will kind of, use this composition to unfold this game. But this is going to be a pretty dang interesting match because we're going to be seeing a Wonder Woman, a Superman in one game, and we haven't really seen Superman ever since day number 1. Day number 2, he was never allowed to enter into the field. Well, now at least we have that chance to see him once.
Yeah, I felt like it was a lot of respect on the Ryoma player, or the Ryoma pick rather than the Superman. It just means that maybe, okay, they will probably first pick Superman, but if not, we're going to take it for ourselves instead. I really like the composition of Serenity more, mainly because they have a good amount of balance of magic and as well as physical damage on their side. So, and also the amplification of that hissy fit as well. It's a very good balance. They've got Wonder Woman, they've got Max for their good front line, and as well as something that could match the global presence of the Zenial. But at the same time, going to the other side of the spectrum, Infected does have a very solid composition as well. Their late game is there's a lot of burst on their late game, Preda and Joker, which has been used by Reborn countless times, although not 100% in win rate in this tournament, but it's still something that should be feared and respected when late game comes.
Yeah. All right, so we'll just be passing it on to our casters. I request a duel and Luxurious, so you know what to do, guys.
Yes, thanks as always, Asarai and for going over that draft and pregame. And we are here right into match number 1 between Serenity and Infected, game number 2 of the day of these quarterfinals. And it looks like Serenity not going to be allowed to secure that Might Golem away, and it gets pushed back by Infected. So great defense there. Over meanwhile, Infected are going to, in fact, steal away the Might Golem from the side of Serenity. But it does look like Zenial getting caught out slightly, needs to be careful there. But before we go into any more action, I'll bring in my co-caster for this match, Luxuria. How are you doing, and what are you thinking about this matchup?
Well, oh, pardon that. Oh, maybe I should hold my tongue because Freaky, or rather Wonder Woman, going down very low and will be giving away first blood to the side of Infected. I do have to agree with Riku. I'm really liking what I'm seeing from the side of Serenity. I mean, they have got the Wonder Woman, really good tank, good enough CC as well, and on top of that, a really big shield over Alice's as well, as long as you stand behind her when she ults. And then you have Max that can reduce the healing by 25% every single time he basic attacks. And also the long range stun from Liftoff. Basically, the global presence that Max can actually provide into this game. However, we all know this from experience, and that the team with Praetor and Joker always seem to come out in the end.
Well, we'll have to see. There's Praetor able to steal away the Abyssal Dragon for the side of Affected. And now we're going to go through, follow up with some kills. Xanis actually picking up one for himself. Freaky getting caught out in the mix of it and gets taken down. And now some pressure on this bot tower, surely going to be put down. Even Fact could be taking down that first tower so early into the game. So things looking good for Infected. So far, they were able to provide a very early a strong early rotation, stealing away some of the jungle from Serenity. And now to follow up with that, they've taken Abyssal Dragon and tower for themselves, and that's just pushed their lead quite far ahead in terms of gold with 7.4k over to 4.6. So they're doing well for themselves in that sense. And yeah, quite a lot of strong picks allowed through onto the board. Something I want to point out at was that of SK taking the Joker pick away from Light, who we know yesterday was. Ooh, look at that lineup, the setup for Bunny to just get the damage off with the Praetor, the poke from afar, and there's going to be Arpan just jumping in deep, picking up the kills for his team, or actually trying to defend his team. Oh no, picking up kills, that is correct. And you were talking about that Superman who just is able to zone out and CC them so well with the AoE, in fact. And it's just a great team comp. They're playing it how it should be used. And the setups they've got going for themselves are really working out so far. They're going to invade the bomb side of the jungle of Serenity's jungle, steal their way one more time, and then could be looking to set up an Abyssal Dragon for themselves if the opportunity is there. But Freaky caught out once again, and there's just nothing they can do between all the CC and damage coming through from Infected in this early game.
Yep, and you would think with Praetor and a Joker, you need time to ramp up into that late game. However, we cannot quite overlook Serenity's team comp. They have got a Violet, and if you do actually allow a Violet to scale up, then that would mean trouble for the side of Infected, and that's why I'm really liking how Infected is playing. They are putting Superman to work here, just placing and basically setting up for Bunny, for Praetor, and basically for Zenio even for those high burst, one-hit KOs, almost one-hit KOs abilities that can come out from the side of Infected.
Yeah, definitely those wombo combos being set up for them. And I think you have to give it to the fact that we talked about how in the first day, Superman was just completely banned out, and yet we see it being picked up here. It might be a sign that into the second match is either definitely that priority pick or it has to be banned and respected in that sense, just the setups you can allow for your team. But you've really got to give it to the fact that Infected, they're able to play it how it should be played, and they're making use of that early game, which you said is not just so important for them in the fact of getting ahead, but important in putting the side of Serenity behind because of that Violet pick and making sure it doesn't make it to the late game.
Yep, and I'm also really liking how they are basically positioned around the map. They have Superman in the top lane and on top, but you play Superman in the top lane, but he has such great mobility, so he can just roam down into the mid if he needs, and then they have Zenio on the observer role. Oftentimes we do see Zenio just split pushing in the top lane, but here we do see actually Zenio being very proactive in these team fights.
Arpan coming up from behind, actually just scaring off the enemy, and we look at the damage here coming from that Praetor as well as the rest of the team. By the time Max tries to join in on that fight, it's too late. He can't really save his teammates there, and there's already a double kill in the hands of Bunny on that Praetor.
Yep, Praetor just looking very, very strong coming into this game, as well as Joker definitely putting in a lot of work. But, it is just really down to Zenil. Zenil actually took away the Might Golem, and then in the top lane, as, the side of Serenity going in for the invade, Superman refused, that their Might Golem from getting stolen. So that is an important part because it sets the pace for the rest of the game.
Yeah, and there's going to be Ulos diving in deep underneath, kill onto light. Zipline file going to actually be able to stay alive for now. Max back up in the top lane. That's going to be Darth Vader there alongside Joshua as well, pushing that back, evening it out. But right now, you go look at the side of Infected, who are sitting with 3 Abyssal Dragons in their pocket, taking down 4 towers already, and now in a pretty comfy position, over 5k ahead. In fact, 6.5k at that point, 21.7 over to the 15.2 for Serenity.
Yep, and at this point in time, they can really just, they cannot rather just chill and relax because, Dark Slayer is up, and we all know this, right? Once you just let down, just chill a little, what happens that you give your opponent a foothold, to just come back pretty easily from the game, especially if you allow it to scale into that late game. Of course, you can argue there's a Joker, there's a Praetor on the side of Infected. They shouldn't be afraid. But even then, with so much CCs coming out from the side of Serenity, there is always an ounce of, frightedness, if that is even a word for the side of Serenity.
Yeah, I think Infected being cautious, being respectful of that fact, that they don't want to give up anything at this point after such a clean early game. It would be a shame if things turn around against them. So playing it careful, 3-man rotation between Zeta, Ulost, and that of Bunny. And Zeta going in deep for the kill, picks it up, but needs to be careful as he gets punished for it. The trade-off there, trying to tower dive a bit too much. And right now it is a bit of that kind of, they had the aggression in the early game and now it's slowing down a bit more, and that's providing breathing room to Serenity, which is really what you don't need. And in fact, Infected, possibly they weren't able to find the opportunity they needed to continue with that pressure. However, it should be a fairly open Abyssal Dragon for them, so nothing to complain about at this point.
Yeah, but this is what you really don't want to, give Serenity. The space to breathe, the space to move, and the space to branch out. I mean, just looking at them, initially they were just hugging the turret. They're trying to hold back off, but now they are camping around this Dark Slayer. They know something's about to go down, and Superman.
And that's going to be Arpound getting caught out. He dives in onto Darth Vader in that top, but the rest of Serenity is actually nearby waiting. I think they were predicting a Dark Slayer take, but look at this rotation from Infected as they were kept busy up in that top side, instantly going to push down that tier 2 tower, making their way onto the high ground, doing some decent damage to it, or chipped it down to under a 2 half health, and the bomb tower being under half. So great job from Infected to actually not only just get not only just get Zeta out of there without any loss, but to take some objectives alongside that as well. And you can see that Ulost doing the same thing. He notices the pressure down there and tries to push this tier 2 tower in the top, but quick rotation, quick lessons learned from that of Serenity. They're going to be back up there within a second. So I think it's a bit of a dangerous game to play here, where both teams are kind of giving breathing space to the other, because Serenity allowed the side of Infected to take Abyssal, but in the same words that you mentioned, Infected are allowing Serenity to get a bit of a foothold here the longer this game goes on. And we talked about that earlier being a dangerous situation if that Light starts to come on board with that Valor, especially being that backline damage dealer. And you got to remember the L'Oreal pick, Joshua, I think Riku brought this up, is just, we've seen so many great L'Oreal plays that is something to be worried about. So overall, Infected would be better off closing this game out early if possible.
Yep, I mean, okay, just take a look at Zenith right now from the side of Infected, right? Zenith level 15, the max level in the game. pretty much, close to full item already, looking very, very strong, can easily try to force a team fight, but instead what they're doing is they're just chilling. They're pretty much just relaxing, giving space to the side of Serenity. Yes, initially they had a really, really good macro play, or rather tactic going over 2 minutes, a couple of minutes ago, where they just split push, right? And that is good. That is really, really good. But when you split push, what's the issue is that you really have to continue with that. You cannot just say, I'm going to split push and Dark Slayer taken. But anyways, you cannot just say that you want to split push and then stop halfway to give Serenity so much space.
Oh, you lost going into doing a lot of damage to lights, man. And Darth Vader is if I'm gonna get caught up in the action. Meanwhile, Zeta with a nice rotation around the backside, trying to catch him off guard, but instead they dodge out, punish him in return. This top tower probably going to go down at this point, but I love your reaction there. Oh, Darkslayer taking kind of pretty much what Serenity would have fought, because Max was nearby it. However, rarely there's no contest at all for it. However, the problem here is now Infected rarely need to keep the remaining members there up together when pushing. I think their play style, however, is definitely that of a separated pressure tactic. And you talked about that before with the Superman pick being a good pick into their play style, and the fact they can roam quite easily, and as well as the Zenial being aboard on that. But right now they need to find these picks, and that's just what they do here in the bot lane. SK taking up that kill onto Freaky, and now they need to stick together as Max joins in with the ultimate, just pushing them back. But need to be careful as SK is low at the moment. Zeta joining back in the fight. Here's their chance. They have the mana badge. They can take the high ground tower, and that's just what they're going to do, but not before that of You Lost gets punished, and high ground just still up. No one took it. That's unnecessary damage being thrown back at you, but they're more worried about securing the kills so they can secure the game. They're onto it. Look at the core going down with ease, and that is going to be GG. Well played to Infected. They got there in the end. There's a bit of a stalemate throughout the mid game, but that's going to be it for game number one.
Yep, it was as if the side of Infected was finding it really difficult to just get close to close out that game, but ultimately it worked out really well for them. Like I mentioned, You Lost on that Zenith, pretty much full offensive item, really just building into those defensive item, if not then Ancestral Glory, just for that extra life. But just looking over at Superman, just putting in so much work. Look back at this particular team fight. Okay, high ground tower getting targeted, actually not so much. It doesn't quite go down, so a lot of unnecessary damage like you mentioned, but ultimately they still come out on top because Predator is just kept so very, very safe.
And you can see that man advantage that really came along. Zeta rotate back into the fight, and that's a big thing, the rotations there. But we'll leave the final words to that of Asarai and Rico, handing it back to you guys.
All right, so we will take that back. And yeah, I mean, game number one for this best of three between Serenity and Infected. Infected did a great job at kind of controlling the entire pace of that game, even though Serenity at a certain point was kind of, it was trying to stop that bleeding. It just felt like they were kind of going for lost cause, but I don't know. What do you think happened there?
I really think Infected knew what they were doing, but honestly speaking, it's more of the confidence of Serenity allowing that Superman to be picked by Infected. They had the choice of getting first pick Superman. Either Infected knows so well that maybe Serenity doesn't know how to create, what do you call this? Serenity doesn't know how to play a good Superman composition, or maybe they don't have a player that actually plays an effective Superman. Maybe that's the reason why they didn't opt to ban out that Superman, decided to go for the real man instead. I feel like this was a great choice. And one thing to note is that they didn't have any heal whatsoever in their squad as well. So they exchanged group utility in exchange for self-safety and banking on the Superman, which carried a Purify. Take note, Superman has already a skill that removes debuffs and hard CC, so that's double safety for that Superman.
Yeah, and he was basically uncontested. And again, it does seem a little bit for us a little bit repetitive that we keep saying this, but Superman is just that strong of a pick that if you allow him to kind of, get bypass the banhammer and you pick him, you basically are the Man of Steel in your match. You can be as tanky as can be. You can control your opponents with such multitudes of displacement skills, and you even aren't too shabby in terms of the damage. And even though there is a pretty lineup here for Serenity, it kind of felt pushed over on the side just because of how strong Superman is. And like you said, because of that, because of Serenity's confidence to allow that Superman to be picked up by Infected were the ones who were truly confident enough to kind of utilize that particular pick and just allow them to, control the game. On the other hand, Serenity had a great job at trying to turtle this game. And it was kind of interesting because I thought that, Serenity had the, but it was Infected who had the Preda, and Serenity here was still doing a pretty good job at kind of keeping Infected at bay. But, of course, with that in mind, they never really got any of the really important targets because they could never base to contest said target.
Yeah, they never got Valor online, even though Violet really effective, junglers in the current meta as a marksman. Her level 4 spike and as well as her consistency in terms of range and burst damage is available as well, but we didn't really see that, mainly because a good shutdown perhaps is in position of Infected, and it really showed. They did not stop at all with their aggression, which would mean not allowing Serenity to breathe, and that's the reason why they couldn't make counterplays. One mistake that I could assess from Serenity's decision making was at the top side of the map. Senial was trying to split push. You saw how they've invested 5 people. Meanwhile, Infected just split push. They did a 1-3-1 or 1-3-2 rotation. I'm practically sucking at math right now. But yes, they did a really effective rotation. And because of that, they managed to get towers, a lot of towers at the same time. Senial didn't even die in the process. And that's, I think what Serenity should work on is that they should think about their resource management and not tunnel vision too much on.
Yeah, but it could be because of their picks as well. But we'll see if they're going to go more aggressive picks as this match or as the draft for the second game is going underway. Let's check it out. Superman, are you going to be banned? Let's see. Infected. Well, they have the ability to first pick here, so they could ban out someone else. Joker in mind. So no burst combo here for Serenity, and we'll see. Oh, Ryoma then. Okay.
It's still the Ryoma. Serenity can ban out the Superman if they want to, because obviously it's such a headache to deal with. I mean, they didn't even have heal on their side. Everybody else just went offensive or their own self safety, if you will. So that's going to be a Zephyr's first pick. So I expect we're not going to be seeing a Xanas anymore if they do lock this in. For me, Infected, I'm happy that they proved wrong on that Xanas pick, mainly because, Xanas to fully, to fully grasp the potential of the Xanas pick, you have to get those stacks going. If you don't get kills, then I'm sorry, then it's not going to work. And then meanwhile, we see that Serenity has the option to either get, what do you think? Maybe a Joker first pick just to counter the Infected. It's like the zombies. And Freda, I guess that's also a good first rotation pick.
I was about to say maybe Max and Freda, but they go for the Wonder Woman, I feel like, just for the utility of it. And Infected will steal that, but this will allow Serenity to get the Xennial. There you go. They won't allow the Xennial to actually go to Infected because that's just too much global presence. You don't really want to get your opponent that particular type of play style open to them to use, and they're just gonna net that in the bag. On the other hand, they're still gonna get themselves the Violet, which is they're really banking on this. But I think like Violet is such an easy target here, especially if you don't have really good displacement with her. Wonder Woman as well as Xennial, not really enough to keep this Violet safe, but we'll just have to see, as Thane could be the observer for Infected, and that's going to be making it even more difficult to keep this Violet safe out of harm's way.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Athene Observer, mainly because it's one of the classics in AOV, and as well as the burst it provides, the CC it provides as well. Thane's ultimate deals a huge amount of damage in an AOE cone. So imagine the burst, as well as if you combine it with the Joker. Okay, even though Joker did not finish the target, here comes Stain or here comes L'Oreal to kick in and finish the job. Meanwhile, for the side of Serenity, I feel like they have a good balance once again. They did lock in that jungler, Violet, which is almost always paired with Teamy, just to try and boost those power spikes faster in comparison to that Zephyr. So I feel like, that Teamy is going to help out in the engagements, and as well as, that being a bro is always so handy for that second life as well. Especially if you blow out all their combos in. There's the reset, here comes the revive, and that is it. Then they can retaliate and do a counterplay.
Yeah, exactly what I wanted to point out, because I feel like Violet right now is in a very tricky situation wherein she does have good mobility with her tumbles, but at the same time, if she does get caught off guard, it's just going to be an easy follow-up to take this down, because she's very squishy, and if she can't really use that tumble initially to get away or to kite, she'll just get blown up, and having that team kind of at least answers most of her problems. So this will give the Violet of Serenity to kind of have a little bit of that breathing space, like you say, but we'll just again see how it kind of pans out. So we'll see if Violet and Teamy kind of push out the Xanax in the jungle, and we'll see how the Max kind of goes for his execution style play, which we have seen yesterday, where he just goes with his lift off after his opponents are starting to run away, or when his opponents are starting to run away, catches them off one by one.
Yeah, I think that's one of the potential problems, I suppose, that Serenity could encounter. But then again, they do have a lot of peel, a lot of safety, just as you mentioned. Aside from the aside from the Teamy, there's also that Sentinel pick as well. Yeah. Sentinel being one of the huge headaches to deal with, mainly because he responds faster, and as well as an effective split pusher, and deals a lot of damage as well if they get ahead.
All right, so for game number 2, it's going to be casted by Luxuria, as well as I request a duel. Guys, just cast it away.
Oh, I like that one. Just cast it away, and just cast it away will do. I almost said duel, which is my name. I requested duel, joined by Luxuria. So thanks, Asarai and Riku, for that draft and overview of this match. Now, going into game number 2, obviously Infected took away the first. I'm actually preferring the draft coming out of Serenity into this match. How are you feeling, Luxuria?
Well, okay. So I'm pretty much 50-50 on both, simply because the side of Infected, they've got a Zephyrus, they've got a Faye, they've got so much damage, so much control in that early game. However, of course, with Zip File on that of Teamy, that means Violet would get so much more gold as scale up so much faster, so that maybe Serenity will stand a chance then. Ashirai brought out a really good point that, not a really good point per se, but it's more so like they're really banking on the Violet. But I hate to say this, but maybe it's not because they're really banking on the Violet, but more so of just that particular player can play 2 MMs very, very well. So they do not want to take the gamble, especially when it's so late into the tournament. They want to try their best, play their best. However, do like Serenity, I still prefer Infected comp.
Yeah, well, I guess that makes it fairly even that we've got either hopes for a match 3 or Infected could close this out in a 2-0 situation there. What I really like about the Serenity comp is that Teamy pick. I think that if they can play it well and get good engages going with that, then it will work out for them. Because a problem we have seen before is picks like this Teamy, they get taken out so early in the fight that their being a bro perk is wasted, and then they aren't really much use to the team. Although I think the big thing here is the AoE stun that they can provide and the roaming that is kind of a safety when you're flying around these objectives like Abyssal Dragon. Teamy is a great pick to help, I guess how to say, try and ward off the enemy with that, because he's able to run towards them, and well, they have a choice. Do they stick around and try go for the objective and get stunned up, or do they run away? And most of the time they will try and escape and run away from that. But we do see here in the bot lane a lot of aggression going on, and look at that. It just was talking about Zipfile able to get the stun off, able to help his team secure that initial first blood, and in fact the initial first Abyssal Dragon. But I may have spoken too soon if anyone on Infected is looking for that. And Vez was just talking about Zipfile running down to the bot side, making sure Joker doesn't come in for the steal. And that's that's a perfect example of how you're meant to play that.
Yeah, but what I'm really liking is that initially when you saw Teamy is the observer for the side of Serenity, and then you have Thane for the side of Infected, because Thane was quote-unquote guarding the jungle. Teamy actually reached level 2 first because he was in the mid lane. So he actually shared the experience, shared the extra gold as well. So, you know, with that in mind, there's a million ways to actually play the observer role. Basically, you roam around the map, make sure nothing much is happening, and basically give your team vision, right? So what I'm really liking from that is basically how Teamy was doing it, so that he gets the extra levels first before Thane, and also providing more gold as well. So that's a very smart play coming out from Serenity. The Abyssal Dragon definitely will help them out. 7.2 thousand over to close to 6k. So it is just down to how they are going to play in that late game. However, they do have the Praetor, so the late game will look pretty strong.
Ooh, but this Thane charging that Teamy. One problem when playing Teamy is the escape factor that is going to use the flicker to get over. And that's the thing that I wasn't so sure about this Thane pick. We have Thane picked previously in this tournament, but so far just hasn't had such an impact. And I guess one more thing backing up the Serenity comp for me would be that of I overall just love their draft. The Praetor pick we've seen being so prioritized in this current meta, alongside with the Zennial. And to go into that, I would say it's a bit half and half in terms of how it works, but Freaky on that Wonder Woman there, that we just see them pick up a kill now. And we'll have to be careful that it is going to be rotation from Infected, but they're still losing out in terms of the numbers. Here comes Max to try even that out, but they, I think, caught wind of that, have backed off to that tower for safety, and there's going to be Zennial following through. So wherever Max goes, Zennial can get just as easily, if not easier, and there's going to be their full-on engagement. Praetor doing so much damage, Bunny on the backline, going very low. First kill going to go over to Light, taking down that of You Lost on the Thane, and Freaky going to pick up the kill onto Arpan, who was playing the Max. And look at this, Teamy just zoning out the rest of the team. They take the second Abyssal Dragon, and it shows why I love the Serenity team comp into match number 2, or game number 2, and why I think that they're going to be able to push this to a full best of 3 series.
Yeah, but really what happened then, not in the team fight per se, but more so in the early game, was that Zephyrs couldn't find a target to go after at all, because firstly, Praetor clears lane so much faster compared to L'Oreal, whether in the late game, in the early game. So Zephyrs couldn't find that pick-off, and that's not giving him that edge, whereas Violet, in the very early part of the game, could actually already put down damage because she was allowed to do so. And with Zipfile and the AoE start, it will be a pretty difficult game for the side of Infected to actually, you know, go up after. I mean, we do see that they have one Purify on hand, and that is on L'Oreal, but that is about it. I mean, L'Oreal can still choose, or rather not choose, but can dance around the battlefield, the fight itself on the edge, and put down some sort of damage. But even then, with only one Purify, and then you have Teamy that can die and then come back without Ancestral Glory at all, it will be a huge, let's say, I can't find a word right now, but you maybe do understand what I'm trying to get at, because basically what happened right now would be Teamy low, and an ally low, Teamy used being a pro, and then revive everyone, and then you have Zeno just comes down, bam, everyone goes back to full health again.
Yeah, definitely a huge upset, huge turnaround capabilities there. Looks like they're going to be able to secure that Sentinel for themselves, just making their way down the map in this three-man squad of Teamy and Praetor being there, and it looks like Light sticking around with them for the most part. And now they're going to be pressuring this top lane, catching out Arpan, which who actually on this max doesn't have any escape capabilities once that is over. Once if they're getting jumped on, so that's what I meant. But it's over within a second. They take out the max, they take out the tower, and now they just need to make that rotation down to this Abyssal Dragon. Freaky knows that the side of Infected are going to try and go for this because they will obviously be responding to that top pressure. Goes in, tries to get the steal, doesn't find it, but doesn't matter because they get the trade out. There's going to be Darkslayer going into the hands of Serenity. Freaky gets saved by that ultimate coming through by Darth Vader on the Zenial, who's able to get him out there safely. So great team play, great synergy, I think, and great communication behind the scenes for what must be going on.
Yep. What Zenial provides, right? So you have Max, you have Zenial, both provides this, this universal, right, presence, this global presence. However, what Zenial provides, it's a huge damage reduction, healing, and Max can come down and come in with the CCs, come in with a healing reduction, but that is about what Max can do. So half the time you actually see liftoff being used to pick off rather than just go in for the massive stun. And if they really want to have an edge in the team fight, maybe try to catch them out, as a three-man, like right now, and then they have 4 or they have 5, and then try to start the team fight. Even if Zenial comes down with his ultimate, it's only a 4v5. That way, it will be much easier to go up against the side of Serenity.
Zeta on the backline there, Praetor putting down some massive damage, but there's going to be you lost the initial target, and already Zeta taken out alongside with him. Soon to fall will be Arpan, who joined in the fight, but all for naught as it's 0-9. And right now, Serenity just dominating this early game, have been so clean in this second match, and rarely found that footing. And the question is, will they have the same problem that I believe we saw in the first match where Infected had trouble of closing out the game? Because we saw Infected with actually a very strong initial early game in the last match.
Yep, they had a really good early game in the previous match, but now here we see Serenity, no issues whatsoever. They have good poke. They have massive poke, in fact, from the Violet with the tactical role, and then you have Praetor Wave that's coming through, and then they have very good frontliners, Teamy, Wonder Woman, and on top of that, Zenial with the massive healing, massive damage reduction. So they are not afraid whatsoever. However, the side of Infected in the previous game, I can't say the same for them. And the simple reason is because they're just unsure themselves, right? They allowed Serenity to actually breathe in the previous game. However, in this game, Serenity not giving them, basically not giving them a chance to come back whatsoever. For every opportunity they get, they start an Abyssal Dragon, they start a Darkslayer. They just, in the name, they have 6 towers, 1 Abyssal Dragon, 2 Abyssal Dragon, and a Darkslayer. So they are not giving any chance for Infected to actually come back and infect them, probably.
Well, I think that is the big difference there that we do the two teams, is the fact that Serenity didn't have that stay over stagnant mid-game where they allowed the opposers to have a chance. And this time Serenity, you just talked about no breathing space for Infected. They're continuing on through. Their rotations are on point in terms of objective taking and team fights, and we'll see that here as Fane in the front line is going to try push Zipfile back, but gets taken down instead. Shashwat on that Praetor doing a lot of work for his team, as well as what you mentioned, Light on the Violet. It's just two big damage dealers that you got to worry about when you're on the front line, but not necessarily diving onto them and taking them out. Instead, just trying to zone for your team. So it's a tough decision there. Zeta eats up a ton of damage before jumping in, and I'm not sure if that's the right decision, as top high tier tower is to fall. And all of a sudden, there is going to be the engage into the base. They take the mid high tier as well. They could be looking to end as L'Oreal getting caught out was taken down, however, and there's the safety from the team pushing back the onslaught of Serenity. They take one down, they take two, and this is going to be a bit of a comeback for the side of Infected, at least for now, as they're pushing away Serenity, holding on to their final breath. And look at the core. It's all they have left. Very low HP, and could have been the game for Serenity, but they have one more shot at bringing this back.
This is basically a naked base for the side of Infected. I mean, try as they may, but this is really strong minions that will be pushing into Infected's base. So they can obviously play passive. But you see, this is the main difference between Serenity and Infected. In the previous game, Infected had the clear level advantage, gold advantage, and yet they did not pull off plays like that. And they had similar team comp as well. They have got a Superman, but they just overconfident. However, for Infected this time around, they are making full use of this level advantage they found, maybe finding that of Max, but Max will be back home safe. So we see here Serenity actually knowing, that they are higher level. They have obviously more gold. They have cracked open a base, and they are just moving in and mowing in, and not really caring about whether or not they have the numbers advantage or not. They have 4-man base and got 5 because they know Zaniel can come down anytime that he wants to join in a fight, give them the healing, give them the damage reduction, and bam.
Yep, and we'll have to see. There's 20 seconds left on the Darkslayer, but they're going to initiate the fight. They know they have the level. And the core taken down instantly.
Fight?
No fight.
Fight?
Just the core. I was expecting a full-on fight, getting into hype mode, but I did not have my eye on the core at all, but it seemed to be all that Serenity had their eye on. And they take that game number 2, 11-3. We're going to see a third match of this. And what a comeback from Serenity after the first game, where they were definitely playing an uphill battle against the side of Infected. So I really have no clue what to call for the third match.
Right, I mean, let's just quickly take a look at this replay and what basically happened, went down. Zaniel, I know, came in at the back to try to provide some sort of healing, but that wasn't needed at all, because let's just take a look at Light and watch what Light is doing. Maybe not Light, but I'm just looking at the base. Who's attacking the base?
Light
it's
jumps
Light.
in.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. Light.
Auto attack, and it is done. Gets taken out with it, but it doesn't matter. That's going to be GG game number 2. So we'll hand it back to Asurai and Riku to have some further words on what just broke down there.
Well, to break it down even further, I mean, that game number 2, Serenity just had a pretty dang good game. And I know that we were skeptical about the composition that they made for themselves, and we had a lot more, I would say, confidence in what Infected were able to bring to the table. But Serenity played that composition that they made to a perfect T. And I just wanted to kind of put their emphasis on that Violet and on that.
Yeah, the Violet and the Teamy worked wonders for Serenity. And the thing is, I really thought that after game number 1, I felt like it could have maybe demoralized them, but not at all. It just made them stronger. And after fixing their draft, and they knew that they had the upper hand, they kept pressing on with their lead. And one thing to take from game number 2, it just showed that Infected is not the type of team that is good or is effective that in terms of playing from behind. Normally you see teams when they're behind, they would keep farming and try to equalize their gold and try to take something away instead of heading on for these, direct fights. Yeah. So it was weird to me that they were already behind in 5k gold, and yet they would still look for these fights. And that's the reason why the gold kept piling up and they weren't able to recover.
Yeah, and I mean, it was just like straightforward from that. It kind of seemed like Serenity, forced Infected to take a bit more of their own medicine, wherein Serenity had all the pressure in the world. You saw that they kind of wanted to go for picks, but it was so difficult. Serenity like just looking at the micro control they have, or the mic control that they have on those tiny skirmishes, they were great. Like I thought there was like a point where in the Wonder Woman was actually in a bad spot, but then Zenial just comes in with his ultimate and saves her, and he was able to even dash away, and that even netted them a kill against Infected here. So, you know, when all is done, it's just going to boil down to game number 3. Kind of gets into the semifinals. So let's get into our draft for game number 3. And here we are.
Yes, agree. Earlier, it was Ryoma, Superman, and Zephys that's being taken out of the field. So we'll have to see if there's going to be certain adjustments. Zephys, obviously, even though it was worth the first pick, it didn't really equate into anything. Mainly because I felt like the Teamy and the Violet is so much stronger and so much more effective. But looks like the DC heroes are being banned here as their priority, which would mean Max is going to be open, Ryoma is going to be open, and as well as that Zephys.
I mean, there could be a chance here that we might see, you know, taking out of the book from that previous series, a Crushed and a Kilgrot. Fingers crossed here, but Infected, like you say, will be looking for that Zephys as Serenity net themselves the Ryoma.
I am surprised. Look at this. They do not get that Preda for themselves, Infected. Decided to just go for the Sunil and the Zephys, which were two heroes, I believe, that were present earlier as well. So Serenity has the choice to lock in Joker and Preda if they wanted to. And that would leave either the jungler and looks like they changed their mind. It's just going to be that Joker and the Max. So no questions asked. Perhaps let's try to separate these two, not allow, because most of the time we see last pick Predas in their rotation just to catch you off guard if it's left open. Infected definitely knew what mistakes have been made earlier, and they're gonna have that Preda for their composition.
Yeah, I think that you don't want to see a first rotation, even a second rotation Preda here, because if you think about it, if Infected actually went for a Zephys Preda, that might have even allowed Serenity to maybe max Zenial. I know that doesn't seem like a pretty potent combination, but if you think about it, that is, again, double global. Very difficult to deal with, especially if you don't have global yourself, and Serenity is fine with that. They have another plan in mind, which is in the form of the Teamy as well as the Royal. It's looking to be a pretty dang powerful, oppressive a set of heroes here, but of course to kind of absorb all of that is the last pick on this Malik.
Yeah, it's gonna be another heaven and hell combo where everybody else is above. Not only Malik, not only that Zenial, but also the Zephys as well from that death above ability. But anywho, going back on the Serenity side here, I'm actually wondering who's going to execute their compositions well, because obviously I am a fan of L'Oreal picks. L'Oreal is just such a powerful hero that's just dancing gracefully in the battlefield, and normally a lot of players are having a hard time, especially if you don't have that additional CC, because take note, most L'Oreal players have that purify for themselves, but now that they have Teamy in the equation, it just leaves me, okay, that's going to be Ryoma and then Teamy? Is that it?
Yeah.
All right.
Could be. Or, you know, L'Oreal Teamy combo, because I believe they're... So you don't have that stasis spell to kind of like keep this L'Oreal safer, and then at least you have the Teamy to kind of be, you know, activate that onto her being a bro. And if actually by some chance Infected catches off this L'Oreal, the team is there to kind of be the hero here.
I meant early rotations of accompanying the jungler.
Real my team.
Yes, so I feel like their spikes are gonna be I think one strength of Teamy is trying to boost whoever you want to put your what do you call this, your hero or your best hero at when in terms of like the level 4 spike or your itemizations and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm leaning towards the side of Infected, mainly because of the Preda pick. I feel like it's going to be very, very effective, and if they do manage to get that good start, I'm a fan of the Thane as well. Zenial for that safety and additional, what do you call this, peel for your carries. But then again, Serenity looked really, really good at game number 2. So if they just repeat or replicate what happened at game number 2, it's just gonna leave Infected in a very tough position. They're not they seem to be the type of team that doesn't know how to play from behind. They're having a hard.
Yeah, and that particular hero that kind of forces you to play from behind is the Teamy. He is pretty much a duelist at the very start of the game. It's kind of weird, to see that look of a hero that's super cute and actually is like 2 raccoons inside a suit of armor that can be just that offensive on meaner looking heroes. But that's just aesthetics. But you have seen this, guys, where in the team he just goes into the jungle. He just activates that Pooty Poots and farts on his opponents, and then, just basically stinks them out of oblivion. And it might happen again. And like I said, Infected is very, very vulnerable for that one. So anyways, to give more light with this by, casting the games, it's going to be Luxuria and I Request a Duel.
Thank you, as always. And we are here in the third match between Serenity and Infected. First match went to that of Infected, second followed through with Serenity. That brought us to this point in time. My name's I Request a Duel, and casting alongside me, I do have Asurai.
Well, maybe not Asurai, but let's go with
Luxuria.
There you go. I'm here.
Now Asurai and I are even. I actually, I believe earlier Asurai called you out. My apologies, Luxuria. I couldn't do this without you.
No worries. Okay, so basically looking at the team comms coming out, I have to agree with the panelist. But the issue is that, okay, Teamy, ton of CC, a ton of damage in this early game, right? We saw that just now. If you play that Teamy right, especially when you have a Praetor, when you're going up against a Praetor, you can basically land your stuns and whatnot, and you basically disable an entire team. However, for the side, okay, let's just go back. Let's just go back to the whole drafting phase, right? When I was going through the draft, I'm actually quite surprised that Wonder Woman was actually taken off draft.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and the only reason being is because, okay, let's give it to Serenity. They played a wonderful Wonder Woman. Okay, they played Fiki, played Wonder Woman really, really well. But in the first game itself, Infected actually trashed that Wonder Woman. So I didn't know why. I saw that coming into the last draft, they want to remove that from the equation at all, and then giving away the Zephyrs over to the side of Serenity. Especially since Serenity can actually play very well, when you're giving them high aggression hero.
Serenity ended up with Ryoma. But like we saw previously, Ryoma and Zephys also being either those priority picks or priority bans. So it makes a lot of sense as we are back into this match here. And there's going to be Thane knocking back Freaky, trying to push him back, but he just turns around all of a sudden, and there's Ryoma for you, the damage output, if he's able to stand his ground and doesn't get dived upon. And the thing here is really that I would say in terms of draft, I once again have to side with Serenity. I just prefer very much so the Teamy engagement rather than the Thane engagement. Thane is more of a zoning type of CC, whereas Teamy, okay, it's hard to say that. It's a positional CC, whereas for Serenity, it's a lockdown CC. Of course, Thane's charge can be used into the wall, and then that would have a similar effect, but that requires the positioning and the setup for it. And so far, that's my initial look at the draft. But I would have to say Infected did get a good pick by picking up Praetor for themselves. But the reason they got that Praetor was because there were so many other priority picks on the table. We will see the first Abyssal Dragon going over to that of Serenity, making the early moves there. But up in this top side, Max going to use the ultimate to escape that fight. Very good usage of that as he's able to get out, but he is going to give up that Sage Golem.
Yeah, but there's one thing that's for sure, right? Just looking over at Infected, just now I was just messed up by the entire blue and red, but I may just have to hold my thought.
Yep, and we will see now that as this fight breaks out, It's going to be the first blood going over to the side of Serenity, so even more going well for them in the early game. And if this is any, I guess, any resemblance to game number 2, Serenity will be able to take control of this lead and hopefully keep it going all the way through. Whereas Infected, we know that when they got the lead, they're a bit shaky on things. So I guess all that Infected can really hope for now is to, I guess, try and steal away some of these early objectives, such as the Abyssal Dragon, to get that footing back.
Yeah, but what is happening right now? Shashwat trying to go in for that sneaky dash and damage, but Bunny would be fine, will be fine. But the thing right now, okay, so we're looking at the team comms, right? Just studying the team comm itself. The side of Infected, they are just protecting the Praetor comp, right? They have so much tank. They have got a Malak, they have got Zaniel, they have got Thane, and the only, other damage dealer would be that of Zephys. However, Zephys, if you're not working an early game, it will be relatively difficult in that late game. Worst come to worst, the best case scenario in the late game for Zephys is that you go in, you try to burst something down, nothing gets bursted down, you tank up for your team, and then you die. However, we saw a similar team comp coming to fruition, I think, in yesterday's game, where they were just, a ton of tank, and they're just protecting a main carry. That could work out for the side of Infected. However, that is very late into the game.
Well, here we come, and this is what I was saying. Infected have to make a play happen now, and there's going to be this game. The steal onto that Abyssal Dragon. Now how will the fight break down for them as Fane, SK in the front line, is able to get a kill for them, but goes down in the fight, in the fray, in the thick of it. There's going to be Ulos taking down Shashwat, but Light gets taken down on that back line, and it's a 3v1 situation. Can Darth Vader get a pick onto Arpan, and he gets him before he gets away. Might even get away himself to safety, and he does. Zeta not going to go for the chase, so almost an even trade out across the board, but Infected were able to steal that Abyssal Dragon, and I think that's good enough outcome, and going even, in fact, during the fight.
Yep. Overall, they are even at this point in time. 5 minutes in, 10k, 10k,
exactly.
Right? Nothing much that that is different between both of these teams. Even the kill score across the board, same, 4-4. So what they're doing right now for the side of Infected, I think they are actually just playing for their late game, right? Granted, in the early game engagement, they are very strong. They are really tanky, so they can soak up a lot of damage, and at the same time, put down some sort of damage as well.
Ooh, SK going for the gank there, and a lot of damage going on side, but Zip will be making the rotation down to this bot side to help support, as well as Darth Vader on the max. So turnaround for this bot side gank going in favor of Serenity now, as they're diving onto Ulos and following through with SK as Freaky joins in on the fight. A lot of damage coming through with that Ryoma pick, and they managed to secure the kill for themselves. Now Bunny trying to hold off this bot tower. They don't want to lose it just yet, but you might lose your life if you stick around too long, and that's going to be a Serenity dive on in. But great, the synergy and communication we're being seeing so far through Serenity seems to really I would say, it's hard to find the words for it, but it isn't quite perfect, but it's definitely up there where it should be in these quarterfinal plays.
Yep, I mean, they are definitely very coherent in terms of their communication, that is for sure, but now Arpan maybe trying to come in for the Abyssal Dragon still, but that would not be the case. And we saw Ryoma getting banned out against that of Serenity for the first 2 games. So maybe Fiki is just an awesome Ryoma that, that the side of Infected is just afraid of. So let's just see what will happen here and see how the game will actually unfold. Because like I mentioned earlier on, the side of Serenity, they have very good early game presence. They have got enough aggression. They have got global presence as well. And on top of that, they are not lacking in any form of CCs. However, earlier on, the only reason Serenity can actually just go in hard and going deep against that of Infected in that bottom lane is because both Murad, Thane have used the ultimate, so no ultimates were available, and thus the side of Serenity was just so very sure to just go in.
Yeah, and we do see right now Light going in and Freaky, and we can see they pick up the kill onto the Praetor, but they need to be careful of the return kill coming out from this Zephyrus, because I think Zephyrus and Roma in a lot of ways are quite similar in their kits, in their playstyles. Joshua going low, needs to be careful, gets taken down by Arpan, who comes back in for the secure, and look at this turnaround from Infected. So really, for match 3, these two teams back at it once again, toe-to-toe, and playing a fairly even game. I mean, match 1 and 2 kind of swapped roles, but this is the most even we've seen these two teams play against each other so far.
You know, the one of the more interesting thing that I have to mention, and I haven't quite had the chance to actually mention, was because we haven't quite seen the team comp like that. But do you know that, you know, when I first started playing AOV, and I realized just how strong the melee heroes were, especially the tank heroes. And then what happened was that I basically told my friends, how about we run a 5 melee tank cheese comp kind of thing. And we actually got really, really far with that team comp. And the only reason is because a lot of melee heroes in AOV has got a ton of CC, firstly, and they are pretty much unkillable, right? I mean, they are so very tanky, they have got everything that you need, and they can survive for a very long time. So maybe that is what the Infected is going for versus what Serenity is trying to get at.
Yeah, I do like that most of that team comp really fits that description, and then you have the Praetor to just backline damage. It kind of balances that out there. And it does create these situations where they have chances to win these fights. I think it is just the fact that in the early game, Serenity's aggression really... Serenity's this kind of team that once they get going with things, it's very clean and their rotations are clean and it's hard to pick out on. But there where Freaky, I guess, kind of got ahead of himself, tried to go in for the kill secure, he did get punished, and that's where you saw that Infected team comp coming through. And of course, that could very well work out for them into the late game here. You need to be careful in the mid. Actually, bot side is where it's at now, as we see a lot of members of Infected going for that bot tower. So now they need to back off as Max joining in the fight, outnumbering them. And there's going to be the Malok just diving in, doesn't actually knock up anyone at this point, but Zenial picking up a kill for himself, surprisingly so. Look how low SK and that of Arpan are going, but yet they're managing to clean up. Someone needs to take Light out of the game, as he's just over the wall. That positioning is too good. Praetor trying to find a poke, gets onto Shashwat, but not really enough damage at this point. And Freaky still up in it in the front line, takes down that SK. Looking for Bunny, is going to walk right into the damage, and Shashwa, I think, actually took a bit of that as well, but it doesn't matter because double kill going to go into Freaky's hands. So really a back and forth fight once again, and Serenity, I would say, come out on top.
Yeah, they definitely came out on top. I mean, they have 3 Abyssal Dragons to their name, so Goldly, they are, you know, it's slowly creeping up, you know, in the favor of Serenity, of course, but the team comp in this early game definitely will work out, right? But if Infected manage to drag this into the 20th minute, when everyone is rushing to get the ancestral glory, you know, and giving credits to their forefathers, whatever, and then getting the revive at least, and you'll start seeing how Infected's team comp will shine, because as long as Praetor is kept safe, Malak has got damage himself, right? He's got a throw up, a knockup firstly, and on top with his A, he has got life health barrier with his B, and his A basically puts out so much damage. So, you know, nothing to shy on for the side of Infected, at least. But now we do see Serenity actually going for the ballsy move, going for the Dark Slayer, and actually managing to just secure it,
Yeah, I was actually worried about Max in the bot lane. I was just watching the mini-map in his health bar, but uses that ultimate to get to the rest of his team where they secure that Dark Slayer that you mentioned. No contest really coming out from the side of Infected, so it's really the question of, is this Infected once again repeating their prior mistakes that we saw first game where they give Serenity too much breathing space? And in fact, this point of time, they're not necessarily ahead at all. And there's going to be Zeta again caught out in a 2v4 situation, but soon is going to be Ulos joining in. The heals coming through from Bunny on the backline with that Praetor trying to get the poke down, and Ulos gets taken down by Freaky, I believe. Shashwat diving under turret will be punished for it, and it's all left up to Arpan to really make something happen, or at least run away and keep the team alive. And right now, no real punishment in return. It was only is a 1v5 or 1-4-5 situation, I should say, as I believe that's the L'Oreal was taken down for everyone else on the side of Infected, and that's going to be ace for Serenity.
Yep, that is the ace, and that is 2 towers, possibly 3 towers down, and Serenity just looking very, very strong. I think the issue, right, with Infected is basically, they find it firstly hard to close games out, but maybe it'll change somehow.
Well, the damage onto that high ground tower, damage players on the side of Serenity is also being immense, needs to be respected by them. Is Infected are trying to make a comeback happen there, but Freaky holding his ground on that Roma, able to push them back. Arpound diving in deep onto the backline, but Light is still left unchecked on this. Joker is going to be able to pick up the kill. Punishment, Ulos has to back off, can't help and save that of SK, and all of a sudden what looked like Infected pushing Serenity out of their base could be the end of the game, and it is going to be game number 3 going over to the side of Serenity. GG, well played, and not much else to say there. Game number 1, Infected took it. Serenity held a good fight, but Serenity in game 2 showed us what they were really all about. In game 3, they continued to repeat that process and take home the win.
Basically, the moral of the story is that never give a one trick his one trick, right?
Yeah,
we won against it.
MVP.
And yeah, there you go. Like Light, his previous IGN Clash fee. Every single time he's out, every single time the team that he goes up against, if they don't ban out the Joker, they don't get the Joker, he gets the Joker, and bam, easy game for him, consistent MVP for Light on their Joker. I mean, just look at him. He was solo. He wasn't targeted whatsoever. The assassin was going after actually he actually got targeted. It's just that the sword is a little too short. But here we do see Joker left unchecked, picks up 1, picks up 2, goes in, and pretty much that is the game-ending push, game-ending fight for the side of Serenity, for Serenity versus Infected. I mean, Joker just so very strong in this early game, throughout the game. In fact, it's skilled so very, very well.
Yeah, definitely. Joke is on that of Infected, and going through into the further matches, teams will have to look out for that. But to pass it on to Asarai and Riku, what do you think about that full best of 3 series between Serenity and Infected?
Thank you so much for that one, our caster area, and I request a duel. Definitely a match worthy of Serenity and Infected. I mean, Serenity there hella freaking clean, and Infected at some point I felt like they were a bit disoriented there. There was a fight on top tier 1 wherein you saw the Malik kind of use his ultimate to supposedly disrupt, Serenity as they tried to crash down on the I believe the Preda and friends, and he basically bypassed everybody, leaving his teammates for the follow-up that Serenity was looking for.
Yeah, there were a couple of questionable moves from the side of Infected. I mean, I did say that it's going to be a scary composition just because of the Preda, and I feel like that's one of their downfalls as well. Come late game, your only threat is the Preda. If you look on the other side for Serenity, they have the Joker and the L'Oreal. Once they come online, it's just going to be so hard to stop them and try to shut them down, especially if you have effective peelers such as Max, such as that Teamy, and you have the additional CC and damage from the Ryoma as well. Infected definitely tried their best, except that Darth Vader did a pretty good job keeping that Preda in check, trying to zone him, trying to make sure that instead of him charging up his Spectre Plague, he's just busy trying to walk around and get that space needed. But Darth Vader on that Max did a good job just being that annoying hero, annoying player to keep him in check.
Yeah, and compositions, heroes aside, the playstyle there of Infected could have actually, worked out well for them, but there was an issue wherein they had the good picks already, but at a certain point there, they didn't know when they should have stopped, because there was another clash where I saw bottom-wise, wherein they got a good amount of kills, but then they kind of got greedy, or they didn't disperse in time, where they allowed the Loyal as well as the from Serenity to catch off all these low targets. And that these two particular heroes, the Ryoma and the L'Oreal, are great at chasing down stragglers, and it was pretty easy for them to kind of get these, to kind of stabilize the debts that their teammates had, and kind of put them in the advantage once again, where it should have been Infected who got the advantage.
Yeah, there are some instances that does happen. Also, I think if Serenity is aware that Infected is that type of team to go super or over aggressive and tunnel vision onto kills, and not knowing when to stop, do we still pursue this, or do we just try to get other things in the map instead of kills? And I feel like Serenity took advantage of this. There are a couple of strategies that you could do, try to bait them in, and then sometimes the death timers are a little bit close, and once they respawn, they're near the base, and yada yada yada. You know what happens. They just try to trickle in, and one by one they fall. But there was one instance in the whole match, whereas they're quite even in gold and quite even in kills as well. I guess it's just a matter of how you try to snowball, because sometimes it's going to be a little bit too late already. As I did mention earlier, once Joker and as well as the L'Oreal come online, it's going to be harder to shut them down, as again, there's only one key threat on the side of Infected, which is that Preda pick.
Yeah, and aside from that, like you said, there was a point wherein they toe-to-toe in terms of the kills as well as the gold, but at some point, I feel like Infected were a bit slow on objective rotations, wherein you saw that Serenity was halfway Abyssal Dragon, but Infected, as they were trying to maybe contest that, were halfway still in, walking up to the Abyssal Dragon pit or that particular area, and, well, it felt like it just kept replicating itself time and time again during this match, and I don't know, because of that, obviously Serenity would have that extra gold for them, and it just allowed all of, like you said, the Joker, these carries that definitely gave an edge for Serenity.
Yes, exactly. And that's GGWP, though, to Serenity. They did a pretty good job at their series. Again, so many intense matches, always reaching to game number 3.
All right, so we'll be taking a very quick break. Again, this is the Arena of Valor India Silver Championship, presented by Tencent, produced by Tesseract. My name is Asra, here is Riku, and we'll be right back.
Hello, and welcome to Arena of Valor. Not satisfied with only watching the matches taking place in the 2018 World Cup? Well, this summer, you can get in the game with a new football mode featuring an all-new map, Fantasy Island. In football mode, you're no longer required to push lanes, destroy towers, or defeat enemies. That's right, you're being liberated from the traditional MOBA gameplay. These matches only last 4 minutes, so you can pick up your mobile device for a casual, fast, and thrilling AOV football match anytime, anywhere. Not only have we added a morale system to make the football experience feel more realistic, but we've also developed 3 new abilities just for this mode: kick, block, and gravity. The new kick ability is highly flexible. Not only can it be used to shoot, but it can also be used for passing, allowing you to coordinate with your teammates. The block ability can be used to stop the opposing team's offense on its tracks. As everyone knows, an impenetrable defense is key to victory. Even if you fall behind in this mode, there's no reason to be discouraged. The morale system provides the trailing team with more chances to cast Gravity, the new ultimate ability. We're using new technology in this mode that regardless of which team you're in, your own goal is always blue, and the opponent's goal is always red. So you never have to worry about kicking the ball in the wrong direction. We've also created a weather system for football mode that adds a new dimension to the AOV experience. Don't hold back. Let your imagination and creativity run wild with gameplay that can only be experienced on Fantasy Island. Unfortunately, ranged heroes will not be taking part in this mode. Their normal attacks would allow them to kick the ball from afar, confusing other players as to who kicked the ball and from where. The unique traits of each hero allow for endless team possibilities. Try out different combinations of heroes and experiment with what works best. We expect there are lots of undiscovered hero groupings just waiting to be found. Who knows? Maybe you'll invent a powerful team that's never been tried before and dominate the field. All heroes will retain their original abilities. However, in the name of sportsmanship, The damage caused by those abilities has been removed. Only their control effects remain. To prevent certain heroes from becoming too powerful in this mode, we've adjusted some of their movement speeds. We've also created football team skins for Valheim, Murad, Tulin, Zenial, and Max. A truly excellent player has more than just amazing skill. A truly excellent player is always prepared to take advantage of the unpredictable weather. Use the weather effects to improve your situation on the field. You might be surprised by the possible outcomes. Exciting, right? Round up some friends and prepare to experience the thrill of AOV's upcoming football mode.
Welcome to the hero spotlight of Max the Wonderkind. Enemies escaping? Not from Max. Max is great at chasing them down. Think you're safe from Max? Think again. Man's ultimate, Liftoff, can go through the enemy's team even if the target is on the other side. With Liftoff, no enemy running low can ever hope to escape from Max the Wonderkind. Recall interrupted. Passive static shock. Every time Max damages an enemy, the enemy gets shocked, causing them to suffer true damage every second and have their health regeneration reduced. Static shock can be used together with Tome of the Reaper or Curse of Death's Soul prison effect, as this shuts down heroes that can heal quickly, such as Tara and L'Oreal. First ability, Bionic Blender. Max spins his robot arms around, dealing physical damage to enemies. Every time he hits an enemy, his movement speed will be increased. Bionic Blender's movement speed boost can be stacked. There are two ways of doing this. First way involves hitting multiple targets at once to gain a huge speed boost, while the second way is to reduce Bionic Blender's cooldown through items such as Spear of Longinus, using Bionic Blender to hit the enemy again before Max loses the movement speed boost. Second ability, Smooth Moves. Max rushes towards his target and flips over them, landing on their opposite side. Once on the other side, Max activates a magnetic force field that reduces his damage taken. This ability can be used again within 4 seconds. Smooth Moves is indeed a hidden dash ability, and Max can use it to hit targets and pass through certain obstacles. Watch out! Ultimate Liftoff. Max fires trackers that attach to all enemy heroes for a short time. The trackers allow allies to see the enemy's locations and interrupt enemy recall actions. While the trackers are active, Max can then select an enemy to track and ram into by holding down the ability button. Ramming into the enemy deals physical damage and knocks them back. If Max takes too long to select an enemy, then he will have to fire the trackers again. When Max lands, he activates a magnetic force field that reduces his damage taken, increases his resistance by 30%, and shocks all nearby enemies. Pressing the ability again while Max is tracking an enemy will cancel the attack, making Max land immediately and activate his force field. Max doesn't have to ram into the enemy every time when using Liftoff. If enemy heroes are sticking together and are tough to kill, then Max can tap Liftoff again to cancel it in order to avoid getting caught outnumbered. Want to become epic with Max? 1. Smooth Moves damage reduction will still be in effect on second activation. Use it again right after the first part to achieve maximum damage reduction. 2. Bionic Blender is Max's main damage dealer and minion wave clearer. It also has a very short cooldown, so always level up with this ability first, followed by Smooth Moves, and then level up his ultimate Liftoff whenever it is available. 3. Max is really good at chasing down the enemy. I mean really good at chasing them down. So he doesn't really need Flicker to initiate. However, he may lack the damage to finish off targets, so take Execute for that extra damage reach. 4. Liftoff can also be used as an escape tool. When Max is running low and being chased down, he can use Liftoff to ram into an enemy at another location. After he reaches a safe place, He can then cancel liftoff to complete his escape. 5. Max should always pay attention to the mini-map. When he sees targets that are running low, he should get close and use liftoff to finish them off. A common combo for Max is to first use liftoff to charge forward. Follow it up with smooth moves for control, followed by bionic blender to deal damage. Continue the combo with smooth moves and normal attacks to complete the kill. The combo sequence is ultimate plus second ability plus first ability plus second ability. Thanks for watching today's Hero Spotlight. See you next time.
Well, you have to look while we're doing it.
Yes.
It's like a thing, you know.
Right?
There you go. That was
Yes.
supposed to be a cooler intro than we would have thought, but, you know, Riku messed it up. Anyways,
You didn't tell me anything. Alright, let's get back into the program.
yes, anyways, guys, welcome back to the Arena of Valor India Summer Championship, presented by presented by Tencent, and produced by Tesseract. I keep messing that up. That is my mistake. Anyways, we are now about to watch our game number 3, or match number 3, best of 3, between Alliance versus OG.
Yes, Siri. Alliance did a very good run in their bracket as well, but let's go over that later. Alliance, their offlaner is All Might. I'm pretty sure you're a fan of that one, Asarai. Mage for Zero is their mage, Fayaz as their marksman, Obex as their jungler, and Deadman as their...
Yeah, and for Obviously Gods, we got Shakar on the offlaner, Shaiken as the mage, Forsaken with the marksman role, Perfection on the jungler, and Emo Blaze as our observer.
Yes, Siri. For Alliance, I've heard they had their 2-1 run against Nada's Vanguard as their last match, with an epic backdoor as well to secure their spot at the quarterfinals. Meanwhile, obviously Gods here, in their fight against, their fight against Exiled, I feel like they need to repair their decision making, as sometimes they get a little bit too tunnel visioned on kills, and sometimes teams would take advantage of, you know, taking other things out of the map, like towers and such. So I feel like maybe, you know, they learned yesterday and they could do an awesome job today against Alliance.
Yeah, definitely agree with you on that. So we'll just have to see. Well, we're not yet about to start our drafting here, but again, what are the picks that we should be like looking out for, especially from OG? Just double checking my statistics here, and what it seems to be a focus on.
They love this. I think they like the Mina pick. They have used the Mina pick, and I believe we were the ones that say, hey, maybe the Mina is not that effective, but at the same time, they convinced us that they pull off an effective Mina as well. And of course, also Wariel and Lindis is also one of OG's popular picks in their draft.
Yeah. So it's going to be pretty interesting to kind of like see how they can top off what happened from our second match between Serenity and Infected. I mean, Serenity really brought the pain there. Lots of I would say pressure from game number 2 and game number 3. You thought that Infected would actually finish strong on the second match, but it really didn't happen for them. And like you said, OG still has some kinks to work out with their playstyle, as it isn't really strong in the early game. So anyways, the draft is ready. So let's get into our first banning and picking here. Who will be our victim for the ban? Superman is always a nice thing to get out of the board, and there you go.
Yes, and normally we see Zephyr's ban. I guess it depends. Maybe a Murad ban could come off here, but I guess it's one of those things where they could gauge their enemy, and they probably have scouted Alliance already, and so they decide to go for that Senior. Now we've got Murad, which has been a very popular pick at day number 2, and OG, I feel like they pull off a really good Ariel Alice combo as well, but Ryoma is still open, but Mass has already been utilized by OG yesterday, so I am not surprised if they do lock this in.
I mean, they might have decided not to actually go for, to take away the Zenial, just they have the only presence hero here, but they decide for something else a bit more explosive per se with that Joker and Zephys. Although I might not be a little bit comfortable with this one as they are giving away for that Max. They could have maybe have gone for Joker Max. I think that would have been also a nice hero, and Alliance is going for all-out Bruiser as they go for that Max and Resh. But of course, obviously, Gods will counter with an Alice.
I absolutely agree with you there, Astra. Because if they went for the Joker Max, they wouldn't go for the Zephys pick because they already have a John. So I guess it's one of their priorities. Maybe they're scared. I don't know, because some people would love to play, would also play Zephys on the side lanes, but I'm not quite sure. Anyway, going back to the Alice, would this mean it's going to be a last pick L'Oreal, or this Diao Chen hover could be just a ruse? But I guess not. And I feel like Violet, Diao Chen, we've seen this before. But again, not gonna be a surprise if they lock this L'Oreal in. G obviously super comfortable on this Alice L'Oreal, which has been played in their matchup between Exiled, and it worked wonders for them. So I'm assuming they'll do the same this time around. Then again, Diao Chen, obviously a very situational hero. I'm not really a fan, mainly because she's very one of those low mobility heroes. Gonna rely on those sneaky brush ults and stuff like that, just try to get that combo in. So we'll have to see.
So we'll have to see indeed. The last pick as well, not only looking to be more comfort pick for Gods here, but definitely, like you said, it does put out the point where Diao Chen is more of a slow, methodical mage. So definitely L'Oreal kind of counters that with her same mobility, but at the same time, we did see a match, I believe, on day number 1, wherein a Grok and Diao Chen was utilized here. So to a certain similar extent, we should see something like that with the Crash and the Diao Chen, wherein Crash activates that, gets a couple of stunts, Diao Chen gets in with the flicker possibly, and then kind of kamikazes it with ultimate, slowing everybody down and leaving a frozen trail for that Violet to follow up. But just like maybe the optimal way that I'm seeing for them to use it. It could be something else, but yeah, this Diao Chen is going to be a kind of make or break mage. Not really something that we do see every day. And like you said, you weren't expecting to see this on our day number 3, but she has appeared into the field. And, well, this might have catch OG off guard, but we'll just...
Yeah, I mean, the Murad pick, I'm a huge fan, mainly because it deals a huge amount of damage, especially AoE-wise, and there is going to be a Violet that tries to finish off those targets. If you added a Diao Chen in, that would mean either the CC comes first, then Murad comes in, the temporal turbulence, or vice versa, just to finish off each other's targets. Yeah. And with Max in, that's going to be an additional CC for the side of, Alliance, which I think is going to be effective, but I feel like it's just going to be hard to pull off, mainly because OG has a very solid comp as well. They've got the Malak to dive into the backline and just harass them and annoy them, so it's easy access to the backline. But you know what? I think that's all the time we have. I believe we're about to head on to a match, so I'm going to pass it to Luxuria and Asura.
All right, so I was definitely waiting for start that off. Anyways, guys, my name is Astra. Here with me now is Luxuria, and we'll be casting, the third match of the night. It is obviously Gods, or OG versus Alliance.
Yep, so we saw a really aggressive invade once into that Sage and now onto the Mai. Let's see if they can actually get away with this.
Not trying to run away, and they will be able to sneak away like the smooth criminals that they are. Yow! A little bit of that Michael Jackson in their veins, and that's gonna at least it's gonna give them a little bit of that extra gold in their pockets.
Yeah, I'm really liking why All Might is actually on that Max. Imagine every single time he uses liftoff to join his allies, and he goes like, "It's fine now." Why? Because
I'm here. You see, I have a My Hero Academia fan here. Hello, hi. My name's Sasarai. What's up?
My name is Luxuria. The ceilings
But yeah, you're right. I mean, puns aside, or informalities aside, definitely a good kind of pickup here because again, the Maxer kind of works the same way as Daniel, but a little bit more offensive. You get yourself that global ultimate, plus when you get into the thick of things, you just get that more AoE-centric damage output, but at the same time, you do have a faster rotation compared to the Malik, who has to kind of, rotate from that side to this side. But from the looks of it, it's not really going to be Max versus Malik. It's actually a Max versus Joker in the top.
Yeah, it'll be a Max versus Joker, but happening in the bot lane, Shika actually is trying to stop that of Bade, from trying to contest that initial Abyssal Dragon, and once again, Might Golem getting stolen or tried by the side of OG and will be taken away successfully. So OG definitely putting down a lot of aggression, not wanting Murad to scale at all and be that offensive pressure that Alliance has.
Yeah, I like this because if you think about it, if it was the Malik on top side, he might actually be in a hard matchup against the Max, but because it's a Joker, he can stay at range, he has more damage output, and the Malik can actually, help out here in the bottom lane, but Forsaken is gonna go to infinity and beyond to find his man, get that kill, set the Sentinel as well, and just to finish what I was saying there, is you get that Malik to actually help out with the first big objective of the game, which is this Abyssal Dragon. It kind of works out well for OG here.
Yep, it definitely worked out well, but then at the point in time, all might look like, he is probably saving the world somewhere else and not quite in the game, but let's just wait for them to actually solve their connectivity issue. But just talking about this, so coming into this early game, obviously I do actually favor the team comp coming up from the side of OG, and only reason because of Alice, right? So much CC early game, you have your stun, you have your speed boost, and once you hit that level 4, which you recently just did, and you have that hissy fit. And if the team fight goes for a very long time, we saw once, right, and Riku actually pointed it out, 3 hissy fits in one team fight, that is a ton of CC.
Yeah, a ton of CCs. We'll have to see that a little bit later, as I believe we are going to be seeing the next Abyssal Dragon come into fruition. All of our players now have gotten past level 4, so ultimates are rather abundant here for all of them. And we're just going to be waiting for that next objective. And it seems like ObviouslyGods will be the first to try to secure this one. Hissifit in the middle of it all. Nice catch-up, nice knock-up with this Zephys just knocking everybody up. Oh my goodness, here we go. Samasha comes in from the Max, and he actually saves the day as he makes it very difficult for OG to kind of follow up on this damage output. Shai Khan versus All Might. Who will win is going to be Shai Khan with the fadeaway on that L'Oreal. And it seems like from what looked up to been ObviouslyGods netting an easy 2K, it looked up to be a counter kill for Alliance as they also get a 2K out of that one.
Yeah, but with that, pretty much even out across the board, 3 kills, but because of the kills that's exchanged, of OG cannot quite, go according to their plan. So basically, I think they're trying to go in for the aggression, get away the Might Golem, probably take away Murad from the equation, and then move on into that of the Abyssal Dragon. But who cares about having the number advantage or not? They will be starting this Abyssal Dragon out.
Abyssal Dragon 3v1 for this moment. Can he get the steal? Yes, he does. And Bedman puts that to rest, pun intended. Shakar activates the shock there just to spot out his opponents and even, just block their exit path. They're trying to run away, but it's not going to be enough. Even though he gets the steal on that Abyssal Dragon, he had to let his teammates actually be cannon fodder, and that's not what you want to happen. Now here comes All Might. He says, like you said it, he is here. Actually tumbles over the wall and even finds the L'Oreal there. So what it looked to have been ObviouslyGods with an advantage is now being capitalized upon by Alliance as they use that Max to full use. Now All Might spotting out I Am Boss here, and behind him, can he go for the kill, and may he go for the dive? It's not really going to happen. But at the same time, on the top side, Forsaken is solo pushing, getting towers for OG.
Yep, two towers in the name of OG, all because of Forsaken. So very well played from this Joker. Obviously, Max, when you have to leave your lane. So all this while, we are not seeing Joker coming into play whatsoever, right? It is always because Alliance have got the number advantage, and Joker do not quite have the global presence. I want to say just yet, but he'll never have that global presence anyways.
Yeah.
So he can't quite move around as swiftly, as fast as that of Max. And with that in mind, OG is actually playing, very, very well for the fact that they do not have the number advantage firstly, and in fact they are doing 4v5s half the time.
Yeah, I mean the only thing here that I guess all OG has to be worried about is that you said it already. There's not going to be much mobility on this Joker, so if he tries to go soloing on the top side and you have an assassin ready who can actually deal with him, albeit the Murad or maybe even the Violet, we might see him, not be as good. So he has to go with his team, and they're doing it right now. So they're actually playing it safe. They know that he can't really do it by himself, and this is gonna be All Might. He's just gonna go for the execution kills because that's what the Max does. He's basically a finisher, so to speak, but now he's going to be in a really weird position here. There's going to be the Crush activating the Metamorph just to push everybody back as Alice will try to reposition himself, going back in behind the walls here as members of ObviouslyGods is looking for an opening. At the same time, Alliance here is looking for that damage output, but they clearly can't set up for the meantime. Huge chunk of shield there just for themselves to soak up a little bit of damage. Here comes the Murad. Temporal Turbine is activated in the middle of it all, and Emo Blaze is in very critical low amount of HP. Has to back away, but Abyssal Dragon is up for the fight. Joker will be joining in onto the fight here. Spots out Bedman, no more ultimate for this crash, and he should go down, but that Murad is making it super work for themselves. He does get obliterated as Joker goes in with the combo nation, as now Zero is trying to run away on this Diao-Chan, but has no much enough range to actually go and get the frost onto Forsaken, and now Forsaken is in a bad position as Fias goes in, smashes down from Shakar, but there is the turret taken down, and this has been a messy fight. 3 for the price of 2, and Alliance comes out on top.
Yep, 3 for the price of 2, and on top of that, that was a really long team fight, and just judging from the team comp throughout, like I mentioned earlier on, when it's a long team fight, usually, when you have a team that has got tankier heroes, you'll definitely come out on top. And especially if you have a very reliable backline damager like that of Diao-Chan and, of course, Violet as well. And, of course, we cannot discredit the amount of poke that Murad has actually placed down even before the fight actually begun. So that is definitely good play coming out from the side of Alliance. However, they cannot quite secure this Abyssal Dragon. So even with the kill advantage they had in the earlier team fight, they couldn't quite translate them into any form of objectives.
Yeah, it's just a messy fight here. It's just, you can see how both of these teams, I mean, it looked like it could have been mistakes for both of the teams, but they're just that good that they can actually get all of these pickoffs, or rather these trade-off kills. But in any case, there was a little bit of mistake there on the side of All Might as he was, caught unawares that he was blasted to infinity and beyond by ObviouslyGods. But now they are going to be forcing themselves onto this bottom tier 1 as they immediately back off. They can get the bottom tier 1, but they do bait out the ultimate of the Crash. Definitely a huge team fight changer there that they are baiting out here, so they can definitely maybe come back and even force that Abyssal Dragon if they so want to. His Ifit from Emo Blaze is still available. Right? I think, that was happening. Mid-tier 1 was taken away by the Murad. I'm not entirely sure, but I think that mid-tier 1 was still up there before, yeah.
Yep, so Alliance definitely doing a very good job, right? Just basically splitting up the aggression throughout the map. So even if OG is here, they will try to find a return somewhere else. So I'm really liking that from Alliance. And we saw OG, yes, they have things to iron out. They have, their plays, their macros, their strategies all together. They need to iron these things out. But even then, they are playing pretty well for the fact that, they are pretty stumbly when we saw them in yesterday's games.
Yeah, it's a much cleaner, or at least a much more contested execution here for OG. There was a nice amount of poke there on Shaikon, but Emo Blaze, as he joins in onto the fray, he has to back away for the meantime. And I mean, there is a little bit of an advantage in terms of the net worth or the gold worth here for OG, but it really hasn't transitioned into them getting much control of this game. It's been a little bit back and forth, but as you can see with this transition, OG is looking to get that Darkslayer.
Yep, they may be trying to get a Duck Slayer or just looking for a gang onto this Del-Chan in that of the mid lane, but ultimates are all up at this point in time. Crash can easily use the Metamorphosis against the wall, and Shaikan once again, key target for Obviously God, or rather for Murad. And you know, it will enter a stalemate. It is basically Serenity versus Infected all over again when they are just finding it so difficult. Oh, as I'm saying that.
Oh no! Oh man, why? There's no honorable thieves, and they steal that kill onto Shaikon. He was just standing by in the middle of the fray, and it seems like Alliance will capitalize. There's the pause. Ooh. No.
Oh,
I don't know.
Tonight they are not a hero. But even then, hey, it is what it is. If you're stopping the minion wave from coming in, we have to do what it takes to to just, basically stop you. Else you just hold the wave there, and you cannot progress to anything anyway. So I'll give them that. I'll give Alliance that they killed it because of compassionate killing. Because they needed the game to go on rather than...
Okay. I thought it was because I love you, I have something like that.
Okay, but anyway, so the game-wise, rather the game so far, right, it will enter a stalemate, and basically because both teams, they are finding it difficult, right? Max now, they're just basically roaming a lot simply because of how Joker have pushed in. So when your tower is pushed in, firstly, you obviously open up the map for your own team. However, you give more leverage to your opponent's team if you're not putting pressure in that lane to just move around as well. As we saw, Max can easily just move around, and when the wave builds up by the top lane, he then goes back to clear it. So that is one thing that we have to understand, when it comes down to MOBA, when you are down to the last, tower, you can actually just put pressure then, especially when it's a DS lane, and then try to pressure down that lane and then move on to the DS or something. But if you're giving them breathing space, they can basically just roam around the map anyways.
Yeah, and we're seeing that, happen already for this particular match. Another thing that I'm gonna be, not really, but kind of curious right now is how this is gonna kind of scale into the late game. What do you think about this one? I mean, we are seeing both of these teams kind of play it in, albeit, a stalemate type of play style or a stalemate type of situation. And, I mean, getting longer and longer to this game, I feel like it should be Alliance here, but, I mean, there is obviously Gods that has a Joker and a L'Oreal as well, but Alliance has the Violet and maybe even the Diao-Chan, so it's very kind of confusing to see who will get that power in the late game if we do, go for a rather long stalemate. But never mind that. I Am Boss goes down as he was pinned to the ground by Violet, and they are faltering one after the other, as obviously Gods is obviously not omnipotent anymore. The Gods have fallen, and that's going to be a 4K for Alliance.
Well, what I saw then basically was a literal stalemate. All the heroes were just standing still, but even
stand still.
But even then, Alliance picked up kills for themselves. Good for them. Good on them. Picked up a tower or two as well with that, and we will be entering another pause. Hopefully the players can sort out the connectivity issue. It is a very unfortunate one because it is the first game of the third match, and furthermore, this is the quarterfinals. They are playing it big now. The stakes are high up there. It's no longer the round of 32 or the round of 64. At this point in time, it's really important to just not even show a card, just play better, play well, and hopefully get into the playoffs. The grand finale finals that will be happening tomorrow, and obviously it's for bragging rights, right? So hopefully
Yeah,
the players are all back. There you go, Shikar, everyone. Okay, I'm just keeping track of them and the mini map up. Yep, they're all back. It's all fine right now.
Yay, welcome back to the fray. But was that enough to actually allow Lions to get back into this one? But I mean, in terms of the goal, it's really about neck and neck. And like you said, it all is about that bragging rights and the chance to get that majority of the prize pool of 5 lakh rupees. Again, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it properly, but hopefully I am. In any case, oof! Ooh, can you feel the Murad tonight? I believe I can, because that is, that was just emanating from the screen. I felt that from all the way here. That was as painful as heck. There will be the activation of the Malik of that ultimate, but I think it's just a tad bit too late. He goes down as the Violet nets a double kill, and she is just going to town right now. Right here, the tumbles are going to be real. Batman will be put to rest there, but the damage has been done. 4 for the price of 2, and Emo Blaze will be the last man standing here. That core is exposed, and will you get that W? There is a wave in the mid, and I feel like they might be able to actually do this in time. Joker is here. He gets the Violet there, but there is going to be the last hit on that core, and game number 1 will be netted by Alliance.
Wait, you said Joker is here as Joker died. I need to watch the replay to see what really happened. He went in, picked up a kill, and then suddenly he just went down. So that was pretty mind-boggling. But however, going into the second match, I have more faith in OG as long as they sort out their issues going into the second match. But however, I do not discredit that of Alliance. They played very, very well, especially that Max.
The possibility of them kind of pushing back into the next, into maybe a game number 3.
Hey.
Hello. Are you back?
Yep, I'm back. I'm sorry for disconnecting just now. It's just something just touched the wire or something. Probably my cats. But anyways, I was talking about just now, if I actually remembered. Let's see what's my point. But anyways, so have you actually watched the replay? I'm really interested to see what Del-chan actually did to actually just insta-kill that of Joker as he comes out from his base and try to salvage the game for them.
Yeah. Let's see. I didn't actually see that too.
Yeah, I mean, it was way too fast. It just basically Del-chan just did something, bam, bam, Joker gone. So we will be entering this. Oh, okay.
Oh. Well, never mind then.
Okay, yeah, never mind. No replays. It doesn't matter. But anyways, a quick rundown of that particular game itself. I do not discredit Alliance at all. Granted, OG experienced some issues with connection, but however, Alliance did play very, very well. Murad got invaded in the early game, but even then, right, could managed to pull through and put down the damage at the end of the day. So that is the most important thing after all. And on top of that as well, All Might, Max, just able to sacrifice the top lane, right? Which is not something the most strategic thing you can do. But obviously, with sacrificing the top lane means that you can actually roam. So that helped out a team a lot, much more than when you have the Joker just pushing solo down the top lane with no follow-up whatsoever.
Yeah, they just rotated their heroes quite well for the whole game actually. So yeah, even though again OG had some issues to work with, definitely Alliance there weren't really something to kind of take lightly. They definitely put a huge and great amount of pressure against OG. OG were up to the task, and we'll just have to see if we do start that drafting for the second game here.
Yep, I was really interested. I'm actually interested to see what Riku's input into the game. Though, granted, in the later part of the game, it is pretty much shaky for the side of OG because of connection issues. But even then, it is the early part that played, the early into the mid part that actually played out most for both of the teams, because they were relatively even, and then suddenly Alliance just got one Abyssal Dragon, got a kill or two, and then bam, they just went down the mid lane, got down a tower, and they just were filled with so much damage never quite seen before, especially from Middleton.
Yes, sirree.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm here, man. I do agree with all of your points, and actually, yes, on paper, obviously Gods should win that late game. When L'Oreal comes online, being supplemented by Alice's kit, and then you paired with a burst from Joker, everything is just gonna be very painful for Alliance. Meanwhile, for Alliance, I am a huge fan of the Murad pick, because whenever we do sieges or they do sieges, it's so easy for the Murad because everybody is just practically just behind the turret, and he can just push that temporal turbulence, and then there will be force backed, and therefore it will equate to a turret hit. It looks like for the MVP, we have Bedman as that crash, that awesome and effective roamer or observer.
Yeah, look at them stats, 2-1-11. Definitely no deaths on this guy, able to absorb all that damage and be in the middle of the fight without even, being taken down by OG. And the damage, and of course, that's a crash rate. It's nearly not going to be high, but damage taken, look at that. Basically, he was a sponge, absorbing every single or majority of the damage output compared to his teammates, really allowing them to kind of, do as they will. And now game number 2 draft is ready, so let's just go into it. Let's see how OG will kind of play around here. Murad is gone.
Yes, no, not really. It's a no-brainer here. Obviously, Superman gonna get taken out of the field there, but that's gonna be an insta Zephys pick, which OG picked earlier, which would mean, okay, will we pick this Senial because it's gonna be available, and at that point, obviously Gods will be forced into that rotation to consume a slot for that Max next round, and it could be a L'Oreal that could be accompanied next here for Obviously Gods, could be a L'Oreal Max just to try and equalize that global presence. But Ryoma is a very, very strong pick. Looks like they decided to go for that Zephys and Kimi matchup or pair in the jungle. It's going to be an Alice as well. So if it's an Alice lockdown and a Diao Chen as well, then it's going to be another magic resist sort of supplement. It will supplement rather that Diao Chen here if they do lock in the Alice, which they won't.
Yeah, Diao Chen, again, I think is just more favored by Alliance here because she kind of resets the tempo if you can find the targets to freeze or to slow down. So I think Alliance are kind of, having this niche particular hero in their lineup, and it works for them. So they won't really, put that out of the equation and even put the Crickneck into effect here. I believe Crickneck is a really good hero to kind of catch off the Zephys, as well as maybe even, follow up on the L'Oreal once he gets into that point where he can one-shot people or at least combo people in, and we'll just have to see how that kind of pans out.
Yeah, it just means that I feel like Alliance does not fear the L'Oreal pick at all from OG, even though it's one of their comfort picks. It just means that they're ready for it. And with that said, I feel like, you know, Diao Chan is that one unique pick on the side of Alliance, which I really, really like. Again, not a fan because of the low mobility Diao Chan offers in the composition, but at the same time, the CC and the huge AoE CC, to be specific, will just really help combo everything in and just hold everybody in place. Plus, it's not a Preda pick, but it's still a decent amount of wave clear.
Yeah, and if you think about it, I think one of the rather Teamy looks to be like a very uncounterable hero, right? But if you put into the scenario wherein you actually, let's say, take out the Teamy and his being a bro target, and then you put the Diao Chan in the middle of that, set up her AoE, even though it takes a long time, the revival as well takes a long time, or at least takes some time. So you kind of set them up for a follow-up that they can't escape that scenario. So it might actually be a pretty dirty answer to the Teamy being a bro saving play. So, you know, I'm kind of looking forward to see how that actually interacts with one another. But I feel like maybe the reason also why they got the Diao Chan, even though, like you said, she's very freaking slow because, you know, Elsa let it go for like, you know, 2 hours in the movie, and it seems like it might happen here for Diao Chan in our game. It's because you don't want that Teamy to have you don't want that Teamy to use his being a bro and feel comfortable about it. He has to be in a position wherein he has to be safe rather than any situation is a good situation.
Yeah, especially aside from that as well, most of the picks are definitely in your face. So if Diao Chan just tries to maximize that, it's going to be very effective. But I think the game is ready, so let's head on over to game number 2. Go, Asterai and Luxuria.
And go we shall. My name is Asterai. Of course, I'll be your caster now, never, or at least I was your analyst. And of course, joining me here and now is the luscious, lovely, and ludicrous Luxuria.
Ludicrous. Wow, whatever happened to Latinum?
I don't know.
Lieutenant. Okay, I swear you have this thing for L's.
Because your name starts with an L, so yeah. It's like a matching thing.
Matchy. All right, let's see. Oh, that's fast. The first blood going over to Alliance a minute into game. So just talking about draft itself. So we do see All Might on Ryoma this time, and we know that Ryoma, right, in the late game can put down a lot of damage, and with the ultimate, he has got decent sustain as well. Obviously, he cannot stack the ultimate just because he hits multiple target, but the first target he hits, he gets sustain from sustain from there. So Ryoma can be a threat, especially in that mid game. So how Ryoma generally scales, or rather from what I've seen so far, is that he in the early game he's a decent threat, right? Not high mobility, actually pretty high mobility. You can put on a high burst of damage. When it comes to the mid game, is when Ryoma truly shines. However, when it comes to the late game, Ryoma is an easy target. If you lock him down, if you lock him down, then so basically, if you lock him down, then he's an easy target. You can take him out of fight pretty easily. And I really like how what you mentioned. I'm not sure if the stream is still going on because everything is off. But anyways, I really like what you guys mentioned, where you actually punish Teamy for actually using being a bro. And that is an important thing to cover, especially if Diao Chan can actually pull it off. It will be very, very impressive.
Yeah, definitely. And again, that's one of the things that I'm super curious to see here, like you said. But now we will be starting off this episode, Dragon. Hopefully no more issues, as we want these teams to have the full, the luscious, the
ludicrous,
focus, man. The ludicrous, the focused, focus all of their mindset or their power into playing this game number 2, because this is already match point for ObviouslyGods, and if they can't come back from this one, push it into game 3, obviously Alliance will succeed them, go to that best of 4 or that round of 4, and it's all sayonara here and say goodbye, hasta la vista, baby, Arnold Schwarzenegger. But now Afayas is going to get caught out there 2 versus 1, actually blasts them apart as Yao Chan goes in with the frost. Here comes the Zenial, and Hallelujah goes in with the let it go, let it snow, and he goes down, getting a 3rd kill for Alliance.
Well, Alliance looking very, very strong here coming into this second match. Not as shaky as the previous one, especially when they have the Quick Knack on their team. So if they actually... It's bothering so much, Deco. But that is the kill going over to Quick Knack. And here you go. You actually missed a great pun just now, all their this, all their that, and then you could have just went with all their might as well. I mean, Ryoma is just that, and here we see...
Here we see Emo Blaze being set on fire as he is being chased down by 2 members there of Alliance. He goes down, say goodbye. Just, be a little bit of an emo on the side there, but of course he's going to come back into the fray. But that is what I'm talking about. The Quick Knack going in, breaking back, and he is just bringing it downtown, hometown for Alliance here as they are starting to spike up pretty dang early into this game.
Yep, I mean, just looking at them, 3 minutes in, 4 minutes in, and then you are seeing a 4K goal lead for the side of Alliance. They have one Abyssal Dragon to their name, and in 11 seconds, 10 seconds actually, another one will be coming up soon. And they are posturing themselves around this Abyssal Dragon. So let's see if the side of ObviouslyGods can actually take away this Abyssal Dragon from them and try to soften the goal lead. They have the teaming after all. They should be the stronger one in this early game. However, they cannot quite find those engages that they truly need. And here we see the dance around Abyssal Dragon.
Dance Abyssal Dragon, indeed. There was a point there wherein I believe that was All Might and the Zephys, or rather the Quick Knack rather, was just waiting on the brush, and on the opposite side of the brush there was also the Wonder Woman just, dancing around, going 360, waiting for someone to actually come out. It was basically the game of chickens here, Bakak was waiting for someone to actually come out and then maybe engage upon them. But because they waited too long, that's going to be Alliance to get the second Abyssal Dragon of our game number 2 here.
Yep, Alliance looking very, very strong, like I mentioned before. And here we see Iron Boss now on that max. However, he's not doing the sacrificial thing where he goes down and help out his teammates. Instead, he's holding on to the top lane because they know Alliance have got a Zenio as well. If Max travels, then Alliance, not Alliance, but then Zenio will travel as well, and it will be, it will not be much of a number advantage after all. But just looking at the levels throughout the boards, we're not seeing any clear spike in terms of level. Like in one of the games, we actually saw a level 15, and then the lowest level in the game was like 11 or was it 10? So, but we're not seeing it this game, however.
This game, however, they are going to be initiating upon Ryota in this teamy, and he activated being a bro, so he should actually come back into this one. The Zenial tries to dive in. Here comes Tricon on this L'Oreal just to give them support, and 4 members immediately gets responded here by ObviouslyGods. But, I mean, that was just a respond rather than a retaliation from OG. And into the bottom lane, you expected the Wonder Woman should be pretty much uncontested here, but I mean, shield versus spear. Spear kind of trumps the shield, don't you say so? As All Might is bullying the Amazonian herself in the bottom lane with the help from this Quick Knack, may actually explode upon her opponent, but the teamie is there to hold her hand and actually get the counter kill. Although on the other side of the spectrum there, Fayez on the top lane gets a kill onto this max. So it's 1 for 1, so it's not too bad. And Bedman activates his ultimate into the mid, maybe getting the catch onto Emo Blaze, but he just skadoodles on out of there, gets level 9. And this is actually still anybody's game, and Shakar is in a little bit of a weird position, loses the bot tier 1, has to back away.
Yep, they will be backing away, and Sometimes when you actually rotate to help our teammates, it may be a very, very good respawn, right? You are doing it because of response. But then what happens then when you have to dedicate 4 people up to just hold on to your top lane? I don't think that is the most strategic thing that you could have done. You could have just pressured other lanes and then force them to just scramble all about. But that didn't come through for the side of Obviously Gods, and now we see Abyssal Dragon.
Yeah, speaking of scrambling, you saw Alliance there kind of forcing out all OG. And OG definitely respecting their opponents. But at the same time, there is the Joker on the top side. But mutual respect here for OG. They just give this one to Alliance. And I don't know, this isn't really what you want to see. This is 3 Abyssal Dragons already in the fat pockets of Alliance. And I mean, at the end of the day, you kind of don't want to give that advantage to them, plus towers as well, going into the hands of our top side team here.
Yep, so top side tower down, bot side tower down, and it's just looking really, really gloom for the side of Obviously Gods. I mean, OG, they played decent in that previous game, but here we see a liftoff.
I mean, Ryoma is going to be in a bit of a pickle here. He actually flickers over the wall. There is that response from, I believe, the Diao-chan, and immediately they do disengage. So not really much was transition or benefited there from OG. And because of this, again, because OG didn't really commit to the Abyssal Dragon, because they were just trying to passively defend their towers, they don't have any more control on the top and bottom, allowing Alliance to kind of, may possibly even bleed to their jungle here and have more control around the map.
Yep, that may be the case, but 4 men in that mid lane trying to put down a lot of pressure, trying to take a tower for themselves would be Obviously Gods or OG. Dark Slayer is already up, so now it's left, it's basically the Abyssal Dragon that will be coming up in 30 seconds, but All Might here getting ganked.
Getting flanked, but there is, of course, the Zenial from up above to say to All Might that I am here. You know what? All Might lost his power. Oh, sorry, never mind. Spoilers. But it's going to be Obex on the Cricknack, who will be going for the possible kills here, but he will not be able to get it. But they do push out OG and force them back into base.
Yeah, but in the top lane, I Am Boss picking up a return turret for the side of OG. So trying to soften the gold lead here. There is about a 5k gold lead, not all too much. It is still, you can still be able to, you can still recover from a 5k gold deficit. However, obviously the items wise, level wise, you will be lacking. But hey, when you have so much tank on your side and you just have to rely on that of Zephyr's and your L'Oreal to just put down the damage, and the damage coming out from Wonder Woman, not all too shabby as well. So let's see if Obviously Gods or OG can actually hold up till the end. I Am Boss going very, very low.
Very, very low, just from a Zenial who is smacking him in the face. You know what? Zenial's weapon is a book. If you get smacked by a book and you take damage from that, well, I don't know what's going to happen. He is doing one into people. Yes.
Wait, Asra, have you never been young before?
I don't know. What do you mean by that?
Have you never been smacked by a book before?
So I've been smacked by something else, not by a book though. Yeah.
Okay.
I have also been young.
Okay. Okay, but anyways,
a little bit like a little bit like Indiana Jones, with a whip.
All right, I like that sound already. But here we see in the top lane, 2v2, basically 2 tanks going up against 1 MM and a tank. So obviously trying to find spots where they can step and they can find their footing on, but it's just looking really, really tough because they're not making engages. Firstly, Emo Blaze.
Oh, hello, I see you, Emo Blaze. No. He actually goes over the wall and spots out the Diao-chan and like, I see the Diao-chan, but then, with that in mind, there's going to be a lot more teammates around that vicinity, and he did not respect that fact, and he just, got punished heavily for that one. Ryoma, on the other hand, he's going to be poking out at his opponents, and a quick fun fact here, if you didn't see, I believe Ryoma only has his left hand. No more righty for him, so, yeah.
And you're losing to a person with one hand. Okay, yeah. There you go. Mid lane.
Mid lane is going to be a little bit of a fight here as the Diao actually gets the root onto 2 members as Zero is now trying to run away, and everybody just collapse upon these 2 members of OG. They go down, and that's going to be a 2-0. Any plans to get onto the Dark Slayer? I'm getting a little bit of an interview here onto Alliance. No, we're just going to go in and push into the mid territory, get that, the high ground tower is going to be much more effective here. But it seems like they're just going to try to get more kills, and Evo Blaze, once again, he just respawned, and he's not going to, well, go down, but still 2 very low HP.
Well, very, very good push coming through from the side of Alliance. However, they did not get those big objectives. I mean, the mythical beast that's just sitting by the 2 ends of the map. But as I'm saying that, Dark Slayer, it's getting started out. All Might tried to go in for the Might buff, but too bad. Not so much of a luck for All Might. But now Abyssal Dragon is still up. However, in this mid part of the game, when Abyssal Dragon, yes, it grants you XP, it grants you extra gold for your entire team, it gives you a further gold lead. It just seems to me that Alliance is not prioritizing that anymore. But as I'm saying that, oh my, you dirty, constantly trying to prove me wrong. There you go and take the Abyssal Dragon. Yeah, fill your tummies even more.
Yeah, objective-minded is the name of the game here for Alliance, and they have gotten every single major objective that is there to be had, and with that, it results them in a 9k gold advantage, and that is huge, humongous, gigantic, enormous, titanic, as you want to say it, everything that pertains to big, exactly, is in the pockets right now of Alliance, and this is basically just containing ObviouslyGods. They haven't contested for either one or any of these objectives, and they are, well, in dire straits, Lazuria.
Well, you could have just read in the description of my mic as well. No one can quite forget your mic. But coming to this pause, great time to actually break it down. With the Dark Slayer buff, with a 9k gold lead, they can easily just push down this high ground tower. However, they have the man advantage as well, right? 5 men versus 4. Max is still up in top lane. And with that, if they actually push down high ground tower, knowing how Alliance have played in that first game, they can easily just push in as well with one single push. So this is a time that OG really have to just buckle up as I'm saying that Rio 2 goes down.
I mean, Teamy has good mobility, but once you get caught by a Diao-chan, it's all over, player. He gets obliterated in the blink of an eye. Here comes going to be the Max with the lift off, but he actually cancels it mid-air as he doesn't want to be in the middle of that humongous, powerful Alliance. They get another kill. No, it's just only going to be the Teamy, but now Boss is trying to run away as there is going to be this bug slapping him down, and the bug that once was swatted is now swatting people in mid-air. There is going to be the Uroma trying to run away with the spears being poked out, then left and right. But it seems like it was a little bit too bad. There is going to be the Zenyo to try to make this happen, but that was just too much damage from this Zephyrus as well as the Wonder Woman. Now, they can try to make some objectives here, but there is nothing to be had. Dark Slayer as well as Abyssal Dragon is out for the count, so they can only hope to take down a couple of towers here.
And this will be big for the setup of ObviouslyGods. Like I mentioned it earlier on, as long as ObviouslyGods can try to shoot a set of Alliance away, especially when you're pushing into a high ground tower, that is a dangerous spot to be in. You have the turret, you have the tower to protect you firstly, so it's basically a 6v5 kind of situation that Alliance saw. So with that, they actually just managed to push through, got the tower down, however, not run away in time. Obviously, we saw some ballsy plays coming out from the side of Bitman and Zero on that Daoshan, and they're basically trying to make plays there, but we cannot quite deny the damage coming out from, Wonder Woman and even,
What was that? Oof.
No steal. That was I thought there was a steal that would be happening, but no steal at all. So I guess all is fine and dandy for their side, at least for now. But ultimately, if you'd ask me, OG still stands a chance. A very slim one at that. But as long as they can fight, and then they can pick out the key targets. Because just look at the team comp itself, we are saying that the set of Alliance it's much squishier team comp, right? ObviouslyGods, they have a much tankier team comp, and on top of that, Ancestral Glory picked up by Rio 2. So you can revive and then use your Being a Bro again. So then it will be difficult to take him down as long as when he's using Being a Bro, he's not getting punished by that of Doja.
Iron Boss is a little bit overextended here. They had the possibility to actually go for a catch-up, and they too. They could actually go for the win right now, because if they lose two, that's going to be very difficult to actually get away from. Zephys goes in for the flank, but of course, the Diao Chen has the flicker to go over the wall, and Zephys cannot follow, and that's going to leave three members of Obviously Gods right here and now to fend off for themselves, but it seems like they're coming back from downtown to get the one kill. Zenial has the shield, but this is going to be a 1 versus 1 with the Max getting the heal already with the lift off, now punishing at this Craig neck, and like you said, because they have that tanking ability, they are still surviving here. But Badman, oh my goodness, this is a sneaky little boy right here, as he will be porting back into base, and they had no idea that that was happening right on the side of the brush there, and it seems like Obviously Gods are stopping the inevitable here and kind of, coming back into the fray.
Yep, what happened then really in that particular team fight, we saw Delshan left alone with Emo Blaze. Emo Blaze was going hard, going on to Delshan. Delshan was left alone, and then when the team finally realized, turned back, tried to save Zero, and what happened then? Because you turn back and you try to go back to your allies, you give your opponent a chance to just put down so much more damage. And furthermore, it wasn't a team fight that was had that's 5v5. Instead, it was Joker that joined in later on, and then you have Max, full health, using the lift off, coming, bam, takes you out, AoE stun. So, with that in mind, Alliance really have to recount, right? Take a couple of steps back and understand how they should play coming into this late game itself.
Yeah, late game itself. And speaking of late game, this is about to be our second Darkslayer. Should be up and running in about 40 seconds. This is a highly contested objective for both of our teams, and now that they spot that the Zenial is far away from his opponents, they're just going to charge upon him, and he's going to try to run away, maybe even use his ultimate to actually get away from this fiasco here, but he is absorbing a lot of damage. But where is Alliance? They're going to go for the push into the mid lane, and now only Max will be defending that. When Zenial has gone down, they have to port back into base. Do they have enough time? Do they have enough damage to actually go in for the backstab backdoor play here? They're going for it. The damage is going to be real, and Alliance will take it. Holy, yeah. And, well, Alliance, dirty plays, but that is just part of the game. Sayonara, OG.
This is what that I was talking about when the game started. When you want to invest players to take down one particular player, you have to think through whether or not you should actually push the other lane. Would it be more worthy to push the other lanes, or to just invest 4-5 players onto one particular player? That was what they did in the early game. They failed quite badly, and that is what they did in this particular last part of the fight as well. So that is one thing for OG to think about, maybe when they sleep tight with their loss tonight.
Yeah, don't let the bed bugs bite, because that one bit them in the butt really hard. And I mean, that was just tunnel vision. Like they thought that, Alliance here would try to save their teammate. They were like, no, why would we try to do that when mid is already open? Mid tier 3 has already been taken down by us, and there's not really there is backdoor protection, but in this late stage of the game, they have enough damage to bypass that damage reduction, and since they're four-man strong and everybody else was just trying to chase down onto the Zenial, even though it looked like to have been a weird play, even though the Zenial might have been the demise here of Alliance, because they didn't want to go for the fight, because they wanted to go for the W, get that main objective, he bought enough time for this to have worked, and well, there you go, look at that. That's it.
I mean, okay, just imagine this, okay? Yeah. When if it's in the top lane, you spot a Ryoma, go for him, right? But anyways, let's hear what Riku has to say as I hand it over to Riku and Asteroid.
The thing is, remember, when the match started, we did mention one of the weaknesses of Obviously Gods is their tendency to tunnel vision, and we've seen these instances when they were against Exiled yesterday, and I felt like, yes, they need to repair their decision-making, and I just said as well that perhaps they have already learned from yesterday, because yesterday, what they lost were towers, but this time around, they lost their core. And obviously, Alliance, knowing the fact that they did that backdoor against, not as Vanguard on their brackets yesterday in a 2-in-1 fashion as well, it just means that they could use these sneaky tactics. It just means that they have backdoors in mind. So knowing the fact that it's a tendency of OG to do these sort of things, then it's something that they could take advantage of, which was apparent in our game number 2.
Man, that was basically like, if you have your mobile device and you are in that particular situation, I feel like that's when your point where it's like this, and then bang, it's like mobile device breaking place there. Like you are just pretty much infuriated with that one. And let's have the MVP of the match from Alliance. We have Zero as the Diao Chan, 4-1-11, 10,000 in terms of the gold, damage done 21%, and damage taken 17%.
Yeah, I really like, okay, I said time and time again, I'm not a fan of the Diao Chan, but they made it work because it sort of counters Obviously Gods. Why? Because most of the heroes in their draft are very short-ranged. L'Oreal, even though is a ranged mage, she's more of a in-your-face type of mage. I'm gonna be dancing around in the battlefield. But what Diao Chen offers is a lot of control, which would make room for Joker. He has that space needed, and therefore Cricknack as well can dive pretty much on one of the squishy targets, and he's quite bursty as well. And again, good distraction methods from Alliance, knowing that it's not only a battle of drafting, not only a battle of strategy and mental fortitude, but also knowing and studying the weaknesses of your opposing team, and they took advantage of that.
Yeah, I mean, nothing much to be said after that one. It was an opening, and they went for it. So, you know what? Why not go for it? And because of that, they win this best of 3 with a clean 2-0. Although game number 1 definitely could have been Obviously Gods, and maybe they could have been pushed into game number 3. But kudos to OG and congratulations to Alliance. They'll be performing, or they'll be competing tomorrow for our round of 4. Next up will be the last game of the night. Will be ExDee Gaming versus OurAbditory. So if you guys don't know who ExDee Gaming is, they're basically the arguably rather the best team in India AOV scene, and definitely some team to kind of be feared.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this next matchup. Again, the night has been a lot of game number 3s, but it looks like it's going to be the end of that as we see Alliance just 2-0ing their opponents, which is OG.
Yeah, and ExDee Gaming, again, I have to kind of stress this. They are the team, like, Unity has shown this type of playstyle, or rather this type of variety or vastness in terms of their hero picking. But ExDee Gaming, kind of is that team has a huge hero pool, and they know how to use that huge hero pool in different types of compositions as well. So this is going to be very tricky for OurAbditory to actually kind of counter. But again, I don't have too much info with them. They only were able to defeat Lost Stones, I believe, off-stream yesterday in a 2-0 fashion. So we're just going to take into a very quick break. And when we get back, last game of the day, ExDee Gaming versus OurAbditory. Again, this is the AOV India Summer Championship presented by Tencent and produced by Tesseract. My name is Asra. Here with me now is Riku, and we'll be seeing you in a bit.
Hello, and welcome to Arena of Valor. Not satisfied with only watching the matches taking place in the 2018 World Cup? Well, this summer, you can get in the game with a new football mode featuring an all-new map, Fantasy Island. In football mode, you're no longer required to push lanes, destroy towers, or defeat enemies. That's right, you're being liberated from the traditional MOBA gameplay. These matches only last 4 minutes, so you can pick up your mobile device for a casual, fast, and thrilling AOV football match anytime, anywhere. Not only have we added a morale system to make the football experience feel more realistic, but we've also developed 3 new abilities just for this mode: kick, block, and gravity. The new kick ability is highly flexible. Not only can it be used to shoot, but it can also be used for passing, allowing you to coordinate with your teammates. The block ability can be used to stop the opposing team's offense on its tracks. As everyone knows, an impenetrable defense is key to victory. Even if you fall behind in this mode, there's no reason to be discouraged. The morale system provides the trailing team with more chances to cast Gravity, the new ultimate ability. We're using new technology in this mode that regardless of which team you're in, your own goal is always blue, and the opponent's goal is always red. So you never have to worry about kicking the ball in the wrong direction. We've also created a weather system for football mode that adds a new dimension to the AOV experience. Don't hold back. Let your imagination and creativity run wild with gameplay that can only be experienced on Fantasy Island. Unfortunately, ranged heroes will not be taking part in this mode. Their normal attacks would allow them to kick the ball from afar, confusing other players as to who kicked the ball and from where. The unique traits of each hero allow for endless team possibilities. Try out different combinations of heroes and experiment with what works best. We expect there are lots of undiscovered hero groupings just waiting to be found. Who knows? Maybe you'll invent a powerful team that's never been tried before and dominate the field. All heroes will retain their original abilities. However, in the name of sportsmanship, the damage caused by those abilities has been removed. Only their control effects remain. To prevent certain heroes from becoming too powerful in this mode, we've adjusted some of their movement speeds. We've also created football team skins for Valheim, Murad, Tulin, Zenial, and Max. A truly excellent player has more than just amazing skill. A truly excellent player is always prepared to take advantage of the unpredictable weather. Use the weather effects to improve your situation on the field. You might be surprised by the possible outcomes. Exciting, right? Round up some friends and prepare to experience the thrill of AOV's upcoming football mode.
Welcome to the hero spotlight of Max the Wonderkind. Enemies escaping? Not from Max. Max is great at chasing them down. Think you're safe from Max? Think again. Man's ultimate, Liftoff, can go through the enemy's team even if the target is on the other side. With Liftoff, no enemy running low can ever hope to escape from Max the Wonderkind. Recall interrupted. Passive static shock. Every time Max damages an enemy, the enemy gets shocked, causing them to suffer true damage every second and have their health regeneration reduced. Static shock can be used together with Tome of the Reaper or Curse of Death's Soul prison effect, as this shuts down heroes that can heal quickly, such as Tara and L'Oreal. First ability, Bionic Blender. Max spins his robot arms around, dealing physical damage to enemies. Every time he hits an enemy, his movement speed will be increased. Bionic Blender's movement speed boost can be stacked. There are 2 ways of doing this. First way involves hitting multiple targets at once to gain a huge speed boost, while the second way is to reduce Bionic Blender's cooldown through items such as Spear of Longinus, using Bionic Blender to hit the enemy again before Max loses the movement speed boost. Second ability, Smooth Moves. Max rushes towards his target and flips over them, landing on their opposite side. Once on the other side, Max activates a magnetic force field that reduces his damage taken. This ability can be used again within 4 seconds. Smooth Moves is indeed a hidden dash ability, and Max can use it to hit targets and pass through certain obstacles. Watch out! Ultimate Liftoff. Max fires trackers that attach to all enemy heroes for a short time. The trackers allow allies to see the enemy's locations and interrupt enemy recall actions. While the trackers are active, Max can then select an enemy to track and ram into by holding down the ability button. Ramming into the enemy deals physical damage and knocks them back. If Max takes too long to select an enemy, then he will have to fire the trackers again. When Max lands, he activates a magnetic force field that reduces his damage taken, increases his resistance by 30%, and shocks all nearby enemies. Pressing the ability again while Max is tracking an enemy will cancel the attack, making Max land immediately and activate his force field. Max doesn't have to ram into the enemy every time when using liftoff. If enemy heroes are sticking together and are tough to kill, then Max can tap liftoff again to cancel it in order to avoid getting caught outnumbered. Want to become epic with Max? 1. Smooth Move's damage reduction will still be in effect on second activation. Use it again right after the first part to achieve maximum damage reduction. 2. Bionic Blender is Max's main damage dealer and minion wave clearer. It also has a very short cooldown, so always level up with this ability first, followed by Smooth Moves, and then level up his ultimate Liftoff whenever it is available. 3. Max is really good at chasing down the enemy. I mean really good at chasing them down. So he doesn't really need Flicker to initiate. However, he may lack the damage to finish off targets.
Hey, what is up, Valorians? And welcome back to the AOB Indian Summer Championship. My name is Astra. Here with me now is Riku, and possibly joining us later will be Luxuria, and I request a duel. So now we'll be watching the last game of the night, ExDee Gaming versus OurAbditory.
Yeah, ExDee Gaming. Obviously, we've seen them like, I don't know, 3 nights in a row. This is their 2 nights in a row rather. And they've showed so much confidence with their rotations. I mean, when they're in the lead, they just constantly invade your jungle non-stop, not giving you room to breathe. So I'm really excited for this 4th matchup. So let's take a look at our roster. ExDee Gaming for the offlaner. We've got Shiny X. Mage is Dexter for their marksman. It's going to be Kaz. Jungler is Pain, and the Observer will be Blastoise. Meanwhile, for OurAbditory, Yado is going to be their offlaner, marksman, and Conquistador for their jungler, and for their Heartseer, or for their Observer rather, is Heartseer.
Yeah, so again, like I was talking about a while ago, ExDee Gaming is the type of team that has a huge hero pool. So OurAbditory here has to work around this to try to capitalize. Either you are as good as them with their hero pools, or you have certain compositions to employ to kind of bypass that type of mindset or that type of drafting that ExDee Gaming can actually have, which is definitely potent but not impossible to kind of deal with. And this is a best of 3, so it's not overly drawn out. So if you have certain compositions in your mind and it's not a lot, best of 3s are perfect. I guess use case for that type of scenario.
Yeah, and one of the things that I noticed about ExDee Gaming, they're sort of like a chameleon. Game number 1, they're going to test the waters and see what do they think are the strong picks on the other side. And then come next game, if they have the chance to take it away from them, that's what they're going to do. It's either they're just going to really surprise you with that and combine it with their usual picks. Normally, they are very, very fast in their draft, and I do agree with you that they're so, they're so confident, and they have a lot in store in terms of their hero pool, and that's the reason why it's sort of hard to play around them. But I do believe they have a weakness, and that's the reason why I'm so excited for this quarterfinals, as we're gonna be heading we're gonna see OurAbditory here against ExDee Gaming.
Yeah, true enough. Can't wait for our drafting to start, because I want to see if any of these teams will have the chance to play a Superman. I know that we have seen him only get bypassed because we felt like, some teams deem him as unworthy for a ban, but maybe we'll see something here of the same sort. Another thing is ExDee Gaming, I believe they have their jungler called Pain, who is definitely a jungler to to watch out from, because again, aside from XD Gaming is a feared team because of their players, and most notably for me is their jungler Pain and their observer Blastoise.
Yeah, it's gonna really depend on the draft, but normally we see Superman bans, Zephys, sometimes Murad, and I guess the occasional Zenio, because they just don't want to deal with that macro and try to get that advantage by picking that max in instead. But normally, it really depends on where their priorities are going to be, because sometimes we see first picks into Zephys, maybe a little bit of Joker here and there, or probably even sometimes the max. So it just gives out that second rotation Ryoma, and you pair it with something else that you feel and deem as a first worthy of that first rotation for yourself.
Yeah. Now, I mean, everything else is just basically us wondering what these teams will employ in our games. And, well, not really much to be said. Another thing that I'm kind of curious about here is who will be that bane of XD Gaming. And, again, you got to remember, guys, that our tournament here, this Indian Summer Championship, all boils down to tomorrow, the round of 4. All of those 4 teams will be competing. I believe we already have 3 of those 4 teams. That being, am I right to say that being it's gonna be that's gonna be Unity, Serenity, Alliance, and then whoever wins here between XD Gaming and OurAbditory.
Yes, that is correct, Mundo. So I'm really excited to head on over for tomorrow for our grand finale. But right now we're still waiting for match 4, which is going to be XD Gaming versus OurAbditory. And one of the questions that comes to mind whenever we hear XD Gaming, how do we actually defeat XD Gaming? Because most of their matches end in either below 10 minutes or 11 minutes, which is yesterday. And one of the things that you could take out is, okay, we possibly cannot outdraft them because it seems that they have some sort of they have a wide array of heroes to use and different sorts of strategies. But I guess one thing to note is that perhaps something that could work early game so that they could try to match the pace of the game. Because normally when you're up against XD Gaming and you lock in a late game scaling composition, they will definitely not allow you to grow anymore. Just keep that constant pressure, all these invades, all these steals, and it's just really going to be so difficult to get back into the game. And even though we say Joker Preda, a very, very good combo, but one of when you're up against XD Gaming, they just really know how to incise. I don't think that's the correct word, but surgically take you out of the game.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's actually a nice thing to say as well, and a nice thing to point out as well, because since you don't know how XD Gaming kind of plays in the later stages of the game, and you know that they're already strong in the early game, it's best to kind of best them at their own game, because you don't want to go into the unknown. Definitely in a best of 3 wherein it's not really a drawn out series, you can't really test the waters on the first game because you're already at match point if you lose that. So it's best to catch them up, and this is already the point wherein cheese strats will definitely be a key factor for actually both of these teams, not only for OurAbditory but also for XD Gaming as well here.
Yeah, I mean, if I want to assemble a really good early game potential, I would probably go Cricknack, Jungle, Alice, Observer. For the mid lane, I'm choosing between L'Oreal, still pretty decent early game. Just get that chip damage in, although not as good of a cooldowns as during the early stages of the game. But then it's still pretty okay if you pair it up with an Alice. It's a good damage booster. As well as the side laners, if I were to choose, then probably I'd go for either a Sentinel or a Max at the DS lane, and for bottom side, perhaps maybe a Wonder Woman, I guess.
Well, we have seen Jokers as well kind of beat out the Max, especially if you think that the Max will be good in melee versus melee matchup. Why not just go for range? Anyways, let's go for our game number 1 matchup here and see who will these teams bring to the table.
Yes, sir. Looks like we're not going to be seeing L'Oreal at all. So this leaves either a Zephys first pick or Joker first pick. That will really depend on where ExDee Gaming chooses. Either maybe Zephys is not too much of a priority. If they don't lock in the Zephys, then it's totally fine to go for the Zephys Ryoma this time around. Or maybe not investing too much. Perhaps a Murad and a Max instead, which I'm not going to be complaining too much because I believe it's a really, really good pick. Murad is, just as I said, a good early game. Murad is also pretty good, especially when you get that temporal turbulence in at either the squishy mid laners or on team fights.
L'Oreal and Superman. Alright, so you did say that there's going to be the Max and the Murad now. So they're going to be looking for a mage. Maganga, not really, again, a favorite of mine, but I feel like these teams really favoring this particular hero here. And against a Preda, it could be fine because, again, Preda is more of, he uses his spray wave, and then after that, you can actually just use that opening to kind of stack up the Maganga damage output, but it might not be too good because they do have some really good catch-off with the Zephys, and Maganga isn't a hero that has good mobility, so he can actually be vulnerable to such initiations.
Yeah, I really think a lot of these teams are fans of the Maganga pick, mainly because of that buff from version 14. I believe some of the mages have been buffed just to balance it out, as assassins have been running rampant in the entire battlefield. But going over to the composition of ExDee Gaming, it's a classic. What do you call this? I have one mage, I have that Joker. Oh, look at that! It's Preda and Joker once again. It's a very similar composition to what Reborn has been doing for the past few matches, but yes, it's a very effective match as it can either snowball. It's good for defending towers, as the wave clear is pretty good. It scares away a lot of the heroes or the teams that want to stay in lane and just try to chip down the tower, and as well as late game is also covered as well. If you're playing from behind, that's good too, because you have a lot of things to use in that type of composition.
Yeah, all I just have to do is agree there, because I can't really say too much anymore. I'm just kind of, again, looking forward to how OurAbditory here is going to be, again, bringing the hurt, bringing the pain against ExDee Gaming, as we are waiting to get into our first game in our final best of 3 here, and I believe match is ready. So let's get into the game, as me and Riku will be casting this final best of 3 here. And let's see our players immediately right from the get-go. Looks like ExDee Gaming is looking for an invade on the top side.
Yeah, I was really expecting a more explosive mid laner, I suppose, to pair it up with that Murad pick, because I'm expecting Murad will constantly get these mid lane kills, because honestly speaking, Murad serves as a pork? Did I say pork?
Yeah, I said pork.
A pork sort of hero. But anyways, there's going to be a fight at the mid lane.
They are going to try to fight this one out, force them away from this scenario here, but still the Murad will get the first blood, and that is going to be OurAbditory here. But the Wonder Woman cannot get away from that skedaddle, or from that weird positioning. Although Shiny is going to be in no man's land, but he is the Zenyo, so he should be able to at least absorb some damage here to be able to get away. Murad will actually be pinning him down. Has a double buff here, so Zenyo should take some substantial amount of damage as he tries to run away, but he's going to be all fine and dandy. 1-for-1 for the kills, and that's going to be OurAbditory starting up pretty dang strong.
I've seen so many Joker, Seniel, Alice combos before, but hold that thought, Kaz is going to be in shock here, and looks like the rocket will not hit, but the constant pain coming from that Ryoma, Zephys rather, is not going to continue. But going back to what I've been talking about, looks like 3 people are rotating here at the bottom side of the map just to try and secure that area before the Abyssal Dragon spawns. But we'll see what's the next move going to be.
Yato is very low here, so if ever OurAbditory starts to contest for this one, they're gonna be one man short, and immediately Yato's gonna go for the recall, but does not have his ultimate just yet to be able to respond as fast as possibly can, although there is gonna be his other teammates kind of forcing out ExDee Gaming here. And ExDee Gaming, this isn't really what you see from them. And OurAbditory is doing a pretty good job of keeping them at bay. Now they spot out that this Abyssal Dragon is being started upon, and there are 3 members in the kill bowl. There is the setup, and they are just lining up for this Preda, and they are going to be in no man's land. But of course, they are going to be able to fight this one, or fight their way out of this one. OurAbditory is doing a great job of making sure that they are making it worth. Look at that combination, Lumbar Ultimate plus the Murad Temporal Turbulence. Definitely a good hallelujah play there, as they line it up for straight kills for OurAbditory and even the Abyssal Dragon. What is happening to ExDee Gaming?
Wow, OurAbditory, just, you can tell how ExDee Gaming just wanted to focus on the Maganga, as it's one of the most vulnerable targets in their composition. It didn't work out so well, as the sustain just kept him alive, and the constant focus on someone who is so close to death but just keeps getting healed is such a headache to deal with. So ExDee Gaming has to start from scratch, has to rethink their strategies, because if this continues, I know that's just the first skirmish of the game, and I know that ExDee Gaming is the type of team that knows their spikes well, and they will continue to farm and make sure that their gold is sorta near before they start the fight again.
Well, I mean, before they start the fight again, but it seems like ExDee Gaming here decide to do otherwise, as now it's going to be the Max versus the Zenial bashing away at each other. Have at the matey, as now it is going to be Shine to actually lose that fight. There's just too much skill rotations coming out from Yato, and Kaz could be in dire straits right here, as there is a 3-man stack into the top side by OurAbditory. But of course, Blastoise had a little bit of that sniff. He knew that something was up, and he spot them out, forcing them to back away. And so now, at least the calm before the storm once again, as 3 seconds before that Abyssal Dragon comes back into the fray.
Yeah, I'm loving this, because we've already been setting up, it's like ExDee Gaming is setting up their own stage. They're like the top 1 seed in AOV India at this point. And now here comes OurAbditory, just trying to ruin their parade, and at this point they still get that second Abyssal Dragon for their objective, and with no contest whatsoever. Let's see what ExDee Gaming decides to do. They decide to go for that mid lane turret, but I guess it's not enough.
Yeah, Murad is such a free harass hero. Basically, not much can be done against him once he goes for that Temporal Turbulence and just, blinks away. So like you said, what ExDee Gaming are going to be trying to do here is to just try to push this further into a position wherein this Zephys can actually come online and be more of a threat if he actually dives in onto the fight. I mean, the Preda with the Prey Wave, not really the most painful to be spotted. So the ExDee Gaming are playing at the back end. They're just trying to survive for the meantime, but at the same time, they're playing with minimum resources, but at least it's not no resources. 4-man dive into the top side, but of course Kaz has that mobility to get away, although top tier 1 is no more.
Everything is just everywhere. Yato's so low at this point. That's 4 members down, and she shoots, she scores. Max goes down. Well placed Sunshine there from that Alice.
Oh, he spots it out. Kaz can get it. Killing joke for the win. FTW. There is Shiny. The timing has to be perfect. Goes for the dive in, but no one will get, or actually he won't be able to get that steal. Darkslayer is here. Pain goes in, but he actually has to back away straight from the get-go. There's the hesitate just to slow down a little bit of the members here of OurAbditory as they go in for the collapse, but still that was a timely, perfect use, or at least decision, to go for that Darkslayer.
Fast decisions are getting rewarded here for OurAbditory, and this is what we're talking about. Murad falls down, and Kaz will just strike him down at that point. But going back to the point that I was talking about, it's these fast decisions that will throw ExDee Gaming off the board.
A little bit curious to why they kind of contested that fight, but because the Joker is right there on the sideways, they are a little bit comfortable in contesting to push out from the jungle the poison that is OurAbditory, just to push them back for the meantime. And the bleeding hasn't really gone to that point wherein, you know, they're dried up, but it is getting up to that perspective. Dexter will line up a wave here, but it's not really going to be too dang good. Good connections with stuns, but at the end of the day, that is still a pretty uncontested Abyssal Dragon here once again for OurAbditory.
Man, you gotta love OurAbditory. At that whole time, they were already mowing down that second tier turret, and Yato dives in.
And he dives in indeed with the intent to actually get some kills here, but this is under tower. You gotta remember here that they are still in the territory of ExDee Gaming, but now they are still actually able to survive. There is a temporal turbos activated by the Moor to actually take down his opponents, and now this is gonna be a 3 for the price of 3 for the price of 2, as OurAbditory is still going in to get that destruction on the mid-tier 3, and this is looking to be OurAbditory's game 8 minutes into it, and ExDee Gaming are on the ropes.
This is, wow, you can see ExDee Gaming having a difficult time to make their own movements because OurAbditory is not stopping at all. And it's all because of what we just said earlier. We need those early game heroes that could try and create pressure just so that ExDee Gaming will not have their own little music to play. It's always going to be OurAbditory just trying to set the pace, set the mood in. And ExDee Gaming, at this point, it's always them reacting to all these plays. And even though they try to make their own strategy or make their own macro movements, it seems that OurAbditory is not buying it at all. We're going to just keep mowing down your towers. It's fine. We're in the lead anyways.
Yeah, in the lead. 3,000, around 9 minutes is a substantial lead here. And again, I mean, I'm pretty skeptical about the Maganga, but in this particular situation, it actually works so well because OurAbditory can stay for as long in the fight as they would want to, and the Maganga shines on that particular type of angle. They only force in the fight here, but the Lombor actually pretty good with that ultimate of his, but look at this. Pain was actually able to isolate that clown of his and get the kill. Now, this is going to be a 1-4-3, 1-4-4 exchange. It could actually be the ace as Blastoise is trying to run away from the fight. Wonder Woman is in no man's land trying to run away from this one, but now his teammate actually has to try to save her, and they will actually be able to do that as they collapse into the top tier 3, taking it down. The first tier 3 is down for the count, and OurAbditory is playing this flawlessly.
Yeah, even though they had their priorities straight, you saw that the Zephys, Pain was actually diving into the Maganga, making sure that no sustain or utility or DOTs could land in their own team. It's still a lot of key members alive, like Conquistador all this time was shoving that mid lane and making sure that, you know, they still got the wave management correctly. And they still, despite having some of their key players down, it's still mission accomplished because they got that high ground tower at that DS lane.
Yeah, and now ExDee Gaming, I mean, they had a composition that should be able to fight here, but because of how they've been kind of managing poorly, contesting these objectives, they have put themselves in a position wherein their tanks really aren't tanks and their damage or their carries aren't really carries for this time. And they are way out of strides to kind of find the picks that they need. Their composition really isn't built for immediately bursting down the targets. Yes, you do have the Joker, but aside from him, maybe the Zephys, although the Zephys has to be in close quarter proximity to actually make some damage happen. And in this, again, scenario, it's not really what you want to do. Now, in terms of sieging here, it seems that Maganga is looking pretty dang good as he can just drop down that poison and just be very, very destructive against his opponents. But the Temple of Turbulence may have been the back end here of that Mura as he tries to run away. There is a 3-4 man knockup coming in. the lumbar, but still they will be pushing through as they chase it down, and ExDee Gaming are bringing it back. The mistakes of the Murad, the so sad, the so bad, is actually making it so that ExDee Gaming are coming back to life here. Now Blastoise will be holding hands with Shiny here as they try to save down this Maganga, and Maganga will go down. 20 seconds onto the Darkslayer, and this could be the perfect time for ExDee Gaming to mount a comeback.
Take note, this is a Preda Joker composition. Most of the games we've seen that turn a 180 is that Joker and Preda is so good at late game. Good wave clear, good burst. Any sort of mistake can easily be punished with that whole burst thing going on. Now Darkslayer is up and running. Let's see if ExDee Gaming could capitalize.
Ooh, Max wanted to actually go for that initiation, but immediately decides to back off. Lots of recalls here for ExDee Gaming, but this will actually trigger OurAbditory to actually go for the initiation. No, they're just going to go here for the vision first before making some shenanigans happen. Shiny will not be connected by that temporal turbulence for this Murad. He just backs away for the meantime, and they are going to go and respond with each other. This one should be spawning out the brunt of the ExDee Gaming squadron. Pain is right here. He could try to maybe go for initiation, but decides otherwise. It's a little bit tad too risky. They have their top tier 3 actually destroyed already, and their mid tier 3 is close to gone. So one mistake from ExDee could definitely be a still victory for OurAbditory.
We'll have to see as the fight is about to start here. A lot of members, Alice most importantly, half HP, but gets lassoed in for her death. Here comes the Sennial ult. Will it help Aserai?
And Zaphis is actually doing it right here, right now. 1 for 1. No, that's actually going to be 1 for nothing as the Zaphis was taken away from the boy. But Ganga gets a double kill. Make that a triple as they get 3 for the price of none. And that Darkslayer will be heavily, or rather lightly contested, because nobody's going to be there to actually go for the steal. And OurAbditory and maybe even go for a GG push right after this one. March on to mid and claim that W.
Yeah, the thing about ExDee Gaming is they're very good at farming, even though they were already behind in kills and objectives. But at this point, this is one of those things where it's the final stand. So at this juncture, we'll see if OurAbditory can finish this fight off.
They're going to try to do their best, and it seems like that's going to be just about it as they smack it up with their ultimates, with their kills, with their advantages, and they just wipe the floor with ExDee Gaming. Not something that you see every day, but it has happened.
Wow, I am so shocked because when we were looking at ExDee Gaming in the past tournaments, they've never dropped a match. They were so dominating in their matchups in this tournament, and then bam, suddenly they meet OurAbditory, which is just so unexpected. OurAbditory did so well from draft, and we were doubtful about the Maganga pick, mainly because Maganga didn't really work at all. But also, take note, this is the first Maganga pick, whereas Max was also in the same squad as Maganga. So that's something, I guess, we could bring up. It's not a huge factor, but I think that it really helped. Murad pick also worked wonders for the side of OurAbditory, and I'm really, really happy to see this, mainly because ExDee Gaming has been dominating, and we'll see if they can get back into the series.
Man, this is such a devastating Game 1 loss for them. Look at how that final clash, or rather the clash before the core happened, that one at the Darkslayer, it was just pure confusion from them. They were trying to set up maybe some angles to work with, but kind of lost out of that one. And you saw that Kaz on that Joker as well as Dexter on the Preda kind of looking for their prime positions, and they were running around all of these concaves and weren't really able to reach their teammates in time. And because of that, they just basically weren't there to hold their hands, to be there for their comrades. They lost a couple of their members, key members, so to speak here, and opened up the possibility of a rather easy core, as that Darkslayer buff definitely gave an extra oomph to this OurAbditory squad.
Yeah, there was this one moment where OurAbditory lost a fight when I think that was the time where the Murad tried to take a pick at the sides, but because Murad plays a certain way, it's so predictable. You just have to wait for him to blink back to his old location and just jump on and CC lock him, and then we're good. Actually, Ali is a very decent counter to Murad as long as you can predict where he's gonna let just put on that hissy fit, and then he'll be able to be stuck for a couple of seconds. He has to walk away just to remove that silence, and so it's one of those little things, little details that matters, but at the same time, I feel like it was already too late because towers were already down on the side of our of ExDee Gaming. I feel like it was already a 10k gold lead, 6k gold lead as well, and for ExDee Gaming, I felt like maybe Joker and Prada wasn't enough to actually shut them down this time around.
Yeah, I mean, there was a little bit of that stroke of brilliance for ExDee Gaming, but that was just it. It was just a stroke, and they weren't really able to kind of, kept massaging the win for themselves. They just tried to reach for it. It never really got into their hands, and now OurAbditory has put them into a match point. I mean, I'm dumbfounded with this, with this result of our game number 1. It could be a fluke, but I mean, with that clean of an execution, it doesn't seem to be that way. ExDee Gaming are now on the ropes, and now the team that we were talking about to have been, the head honcho here, the top dogs, is now looking to be eliminated by OurAbditory.
Exactly. It looks so clean, and the rotations are so confident from OurAbditory, and I'm so impressed because they kept at it and they didn't stop. And it's one of the good signs of being a top tier team. It looks like the MVP of the match would be Conquistador, which I believe a very deserving MVP of the match title, because Murad did so well during the early phases of the game, try to burst people down to enough amount of HP, whereas they're forced to back away, or even an easy cleanup from the rest of the members of OurAbditory.
I think it's pronounced as Conquistador, not Conquistador.
Oh, thank you very much for the lessons, Asarai. Conquistador.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah, I mean, it's fine. I mean, thing, like,
well, with feelings, because he's MVP of the match.
With feelings,
Conquistador.
Okay. We're gonna give him some love. And anyways, it seems like OurAbditory here is also, a little bit of the punny team, as they said that they have a. Am I correct to say this? That they have a player called Sure Buddy, who they don't think is actually sure, but he named himself Sure Buddy because he's very sure with his pick, but his teammates are not so sure.
Interesting. But, they did pretty well, so I'm pretty sure
that Sure Buddy is sure.
Exactly.
OMG.
So, with that said, though, what kind of adjustments, it makes me wonder about the adjustments ExDee Gaming is going to be doing at the next draft, because again, you said it's match point already. All OurAbditory, all they have to do right now is to just replicate what happened earlier, make sure that they have the early game.
Yeah, and draft is now ready. Let's see. Match point, is it gonna be ExDee Gaming saying bye-bye, or will they actually, come back from the shadows, from the depths, and gnaw upon OurAbditory? Well, Superman and Murad down for the count.
Yeah, Max, absolutely a good first pick. It worked wonders for them earlier, and mainly because it shuts down a lot of the key players. I remember that last skirmish was a lift off towards Alice. Alice was already half HP. She wasn't able to use any of her skills at all or actually help her teammates. But look at that! ExDee Gaming securing that combo with that hissy fit alongside with that L'Oreal. So I'm so happy to see these two female heroes enter the battlefield.
Yeah, and this is going to be the first time we're going to be seeing a first rotation Alice, I believe. So lots of emphasis on getting that support control, and this is what I was talking about. Like some of these Indian teams don't really give that much love to the first pick support. This actually just allows you to be able to kind of adjust to what your opponent picks up, as well as get yourself a sure ball utility hero. And I think that ExDee Gaming are playing it rather safe in this one, where OurAbditory is going for some pretty heavy hitters: Wonder Woman, Morin, Max, people that can stay in the middle of the fight, and a Maganga once again. So this is basically going to allow him to stack up that poison.
Not much changes on OurAbditory's composition except for the Morin, so I'm pretty impressed. It's one of those things, if it's not broken, don't fix it. I guess we're gonna have the Morin instead of that jungler Murad, as it has been banned. Meanwhile, for ExDee Gaming, they're gonna be banking on this Alice and L'Oreal to come online. I guess one thing that's a little bit worrisome for ExDee Gaming is, will OurAbditory actually allow ExDee Gaming reach that powerful L'Oreal Alice combo? But then again, if you have a well-placed Hissy Fit, is just one of those things that could turn around a skirmish or even a 5v5 team fight.
Yeah, I mean, we'll just have to see, because this composition from OurAbditory doesn't scream catch off in the early game, but it's actually a composition that can bully you out of your own jungle, because again, they can absorb a lot of damage output because they're basically all bruisers here. Maganga, again, as long as he gets up a couple of levels, he'll be able to stay in the back and then stack up his damage. And once you get that level 4, there is so much, I would say, ultimate changing ultimates, or ultimate
changing skills?
Skills, there you go.
Yes.
For OurAbditory. And for ExDee Gaming, it's more of, well, kind of a little bit of the same thing, but they're going to be relying more on the scaling of this L'Oreal, in the later stages of the game, which, again, might not be what we see later on.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure we're going to have to see what kind of adjustments ExDee Gaming is going to do this time around.
Yeah, all right, so let's get into game number 2. No more dilly-dallying here. Let's go into the fight.
I think one thing to note, whether, because if you see a L'Oreal, I think one of the annoying things that you immediately think of is, how do you catch a L'Oreal? Basically, MOBA basics. If it's so high mobility heroes, you lock them down with CC, and I feel like that Max pick is just one of those key ults with that lift off, just to try and lock her down. And meanwhile, here comes that jungle rotation here, just trying to annoy Pain out of his own jungle, and everybody else is just gonna make their usual, as Wonder Woman will scout for that might buff on OurAbditory side.
They immediately scramble out of that one. So, I mean, it's going to be very minimum. But if you can see it, OurAbditory actually gets a little bit of a couple of seconds ahead of ExDee Gaming in terms of clearing out the camps here. And with that little bit of advantage, they are going to be able to get more levels here and be able to possibly set up a quicker Abyssal Dragon later on. Although Wonder Woman is going to be in a dire situation here, she has that ability to at least be able to control or get the camps in her jungle to at least get her some stable farm, as she is being bullied heavily out of her lane by that Joker.
Yes, sirree. And it looks like she'll just rely on the camp. Look at that Heartseer being that human ward at the bottom side of the map. Here comes the first gank.
First gank indeed. 1 knock-up, 2 knock-up, and Max is still alive. A little bit too tanky for their taste, but of course, it's not going to matter, as that is a Zenial and a Zephys, the, well, not really double Zs, but the double Z in terms of the pronunciation. No ultimates will be had for this Zenial, so we should be seeing the Abyssal Dragon go into the hands of OurAbditory. They spot out the 2. They went in for the dive. They thought that they could get the kill, but that one is just too tanky, and they paid the ultimate price. 2 kills for OurAbditory there. Kaz and Dexter really wanting to join onto the fight, but without any ultimates, it really is a futile attempt for them.
Yes, sirree. We're gonna see a noodle fight between Yato and Shiny X. He was definitely not needed there. He was eliminated early. I was a little bit worried perhaps he wouldn't have his level 4 liftoff. but once he spawned, he immediately picked up his ultimate, and he wasn't even needed there. So he's just right back into lane, just in time for that reset. Spirit Sentinel being prioritized here by OurAbditory, and they will get that no contest whatsoever. But they have the idea that the rotation is definitely more priority on that top side. So with that time, ExDee Gaming probably as a consolation prize will get some of their resources in the jungle.
Yeah. And speaking of resources, OurAbditory here seems to have a composition like whenever I see a Morin, I feel like the Morin is very underrated as an objective marksman. He has the skill set as well as the survivability to actually stay longer in the fights, meaning, and he also has some utility as well, meaning that he can be that guy that you can put in the middle of the fight, not worry about it. He can still survive. So he is basically, for me, a really good marksman if you kind of want to force objectives here. And OurAbditory is using that to a certain T. Conquistador is going to get spotted out, but doesn't get knocked up by Pain. And this is what I'm talking about. He should be able to survive for just a tad bit here. So this will allow OurAbditory to actually go for the collapse. Now, they're getting pushed back. There's going to be a Zenial to join in. But of course, at the same time, here comes the Max. Spin to win, smack a Davadu, and they're going to try to run away, but they are in the territory of OurAbditory, and they should run away, but they cannot. They drop down like flies. They spot out the one. Maganga is down for the count, but the chase should be real here. There is going to be the Wonder Woman from the sidelines. Will she go for the lasso? And see just just gets the flip back on the Zenial. Doesn't get the kill though, but the pressure is real, and that will open up the Abyssal Dragon. But hold that thought, as Pain is here on the side looking for that steal. Will he go for it? Will he go for the jump? He is looking for it, ladies and gentlemen. Will he go for the steal? And he does not get it. Morin secures it once again, and from one team fight to the next one we go, and here we go, left and right. They're gonna be falling down like butterflies, as Conquistador will be the last one to survive from this one, and he will go down. Maganga cannot go for their spawn, and ExDee Gaming claim a couple of kills there.
OurAbditory had the correct mindset. Okay, it's available, let's go collapse onto ExDee Gaming. They're in too deep into our jungle, so it's totally fine. But I guess it's one of the risks that they put themselves in if they fight in a pit-like situation, because it's so perfect. If everybody's clumped in that single area, it's so easy to land a good hissy fit. And if you land a good hissy fit, then that's just the battlefield where that L'Oreal goes in and just dominates, and that you've seen how effective that is with this combo for ExDee Gaming. Now they're in the lead, and Wonder Woman instantly explodes.
Yeah, Wonder Woman was questionable in her positioning, and she was just caught out from the get-go there. Heartseer really wanted to actually give her at least a little bit of that holding hand, but was a little bit too late on that perspective. Darkslayer is now up, and in 6 minutes into the game, we have seen teams kind of like, go and join in onto the fight right there. Look at his fast rotation. Having that Alice with the movement speed boost really allows ExDee Gaming to go as a full-man squad. And now Heartseer on rotation will be able to get away as he skadoodles over the wall, uses his ultimate right there, but ExDee Gaming will not commit to that one. And both of these teams are just feeling each other out. Not really feeling each other out, but rather respecting each other, as both can really be good in terms of catching each other off guard.
Exactly. ExDee Gaming had a good attempt. Normally, when you're practically baiting someone to rotate with their teammate, if you roam as a squad, oh, okay, looks like ExDee Gaming is gonna get another kill, and that will be the Maganga just in time for that Abyssal Dragon. I think my point is that if you see the enemy squad rotating elsewhere, normally you rotate as well. And their plan was to cut off someone mid-rotation. That was the lumber, and it baited out a couple of talents in the process.
They wanted to go for the Abyssal Dragon, but Darkslayer looked to have been a bit more of a better objective here, although as Conquistador on the Morin kind of rotates there and shows himself to his opponents, they immediately back away. This just goes to show how much respect both of these teams have for each other right now. Again, this is match point already for ExDee Gaming. They do have the advantage, but they are still on the precipice of losing. And now Shiny able to try to run away here, as you see that the Wonder Woman has help from this Morin, but this is going to be a collapse. They have to back off, and this could be the death of her, but she actually gets away from that one. Abyssal Dragon will be started here, but they know that that Zenya as well as Wonder Woman will not be in this fight just yet.
Yes, sirree. Look at that. That's a nice play, Sunshine, and that gives the go signal for the death of the above from that Pain. And at this point, you can see the Max already looming in as they have eliminated the Tempest. And at that point, Max also falls, and Morin rather. But Blastoise is in a bit of trouble here. Look at that shock as the Maganga damage is just peeling throughout the members of ExDee Gaming. And at this point, it's 3 members still alive as Abyssal Dragon resets. Quad kill for the Maganga.
What? Oh, he died to the poison.
Yes.
Okay. There was another point there wherein the Killing Joke almost hit, I believe, the Maganga, but was just an inch away from death, even gets a heal. And to dissect that fight a little bit, you saw that they were playing over the wall there, right?
Yeah.
And they committed to getting the Morin, but you gotta take note that the Morin really isn't the heaviest damage dealer here. It is the Maganga. They kind of forced themselves upon that. Granted, it was a good a good target to kind of go for, but it allowed, okay, let's see it right here. It allowed the Maganga to just be able to stack up everything that he needed to do. That was a good use on the stun. A nice follow-up there, but look at that, the stopping power of this Lumbar, followed up by the Max. You can immediately just come out from the get-go. There, you see, they dove upon on the Maganga, and then they just, or rather, they dove upon on the Morin and just allowed the Maganga to, you know, do his thing.
Nicely placed out by the Lumbar, but looks like they're going to have to suffer as Yato and Heartseer falls down. Here comes the squad where they could chase. ExDee Gaming just wants it all at this point. And look at the movement speed, everything else. The crits, it hurts. Kaz just needs that combo. Joke will not be near and will not be close to killing him off, as Shiny X will do the split pushing duties. Wonder Woman in no man's land.
3 versus 1. Can she do it? She's pretty powerful. She is the Amazonian princess here. But of course, the princess will now be dethroned from her seat. For now, goes back into respawn 25 seconds before our Abyssal Dragon comes back into the fray. And that Shiny is going to try to do the best that he can to, you know, split push the top side. But this is a 3 versus 1. He is absorbing a lot of damage. But you got to take note that damage over time really does get even more painful. But Shiny gets away with the ultimate. Sneaky little dude.
Oh my! And the even activated his ultimate just to cancel as well, and I guess it wasn't. I guess it was too late for that. So again, very sneaky by that Samuel. Obviously, they have invested their resources just to get that pickoff work, and because of that, they have suffered bot side control, which is the Abyssal Dragon. So Morin only has movement speed, but no dash whatsoever. So I guess an attempt for a steal there was a little bit too far off.
Too far off indeed. Maybe they could have gone for a Dark Slayer in trade of that Abyssal Dragon, but there is just a good amount of ExDee Gaming people on that particular area. Yato, on the other hand, is going to be spotting them out, and he will get obliterated. Dark Slayer is in the hands of ExDee Gaming, and this is a weird alternative events here. It could actually be, you know, them trading the Dark Slayer, and it's not being blown up too quickly. So this could actually be a trade for a bottom tier 3. Let's see if they can actually do it. And that's gonna be a no. So it's only gonna be 2 towers for the price of a Dark Slayer. This early on, it could actually be good, but this could be a 3 versus 4. They're gonna try to run away. L'Oreal has a good amount of mobility, but she gets stunned there right now, trying to run away as the Zephys goes in. There's the Zenyo, but the timing on the Lumbar ultimate makes a huge difference right here, right now. The Dark Slayer buff is making all the difference in the world, as it is giving a huge chunk of boost to their team. The L'Oreal is going in, but she should go down. One more smack. She actually dies, but at the same time they get the Lumbar, and this will leave the Max to fend off for himself in a 1 versus 3 scenario. He's gonna have to try to do the best that he can to stop this mid tier 3 from going down.
honestly, Max is the key member. It seems like they're aiming to finish the game. We might enter a game number 3. It has been a trend in our tournament today. There is no minions, but it doesn't matter. Dark Slayer buff, everything is just in their favor. And congratulations, ExDee Gaming stays in the game.
Mistakes were made by OurAbditory there. They, I mean, they tried to go for the bottom tier 1. It was a nice gesture from themselves, but Yato, I think, is the weak link right here. He has been kind of, you know, the guy who keeps getting caught out time and time again, and that last one was his total last for the second game, and, well, we're going to be heading on to a third game.
Yes, honestly speaking, I mean, Senio's ultimate, yes. Okay, I will talk about that later. There's so many things to talk about in this match, but let's take a look at the replay. That last few moments on how ExDee Gaming won that match. Up to that point, everything was pretty much even, but the mistake was showing all 4 members at the bottom side of the map, all the way bottom, and that gave the go signal for ExDee Gaming to just pursue that Dark Slayer. It's actually a 2-in-1 combo, whereas, okay, we also get an isolated Max. It's gonna be awesome, as it's gonna be a 4v5. We can get the Dark Slayer. Obviously, they will not contest this whatsoever, and you know, they decided to go for consolation prize as well, because okay, let's continue pushing, because we're already in too deep. It's too late to go back and try to contest it instead. So now what happened, they try to outflank them, they try to just cut their retreat, but it wasn't enough. Again, one of the best things to shut down a L'Oreal is to use that Max, but Max wasn't present. Max was only in, or was alive during the later phases where everybody was practically dead.
Yeah. And, I mean, there was a point wherein they kind of felt comfortable forcing a 4 versus 3, but if you saw a while ago the composition of OurAbditory, they had a what was this? A Morad and Maganga. And I mean, they did have a Moran to a certain extent, but he does pass his prime quite quickly as a marksman, so he's more of an early game marksman for me as would a regular marksman who kind of scales into the late game. He didn't really have that damage, that they had to put all of their eggs in the basket of the Maganga, which compared to game number 1 where you had the Murad, it was a bit more kind of balanced out from both of them. Lacking that damage that they needed to, even though it was a 4v3, they couldn't really win that, and it just allowed, you know, the members of ExDee to kind of respond and punish them for it. Even though it was, again, a okay strat in their heads, the stats itself on the heroes was not enough to actually get them that, you know, that clash win.
Exactly. I mean, they were so even. So yeah. Composition-wise, it could go any, but I feel like ExDee Gaming, as the game progresses, they would have the upper hand, mainly because they had the L'Oreal, they had the Joker in their hands. But then again, I did mention how I feel like Matt is one of the key members that could actually shut down L'Oreal, and if you lock her down with that CC, then everybody just follows through. That's -1 person, and they just do the cleanup. Again, it's a macro mistake. It's a decision making, whereas okay, let's go bottom lane instead of just trying to be reserved about it. But let's take a look at our MVP of the match. It's gonna be Dexter.
Oh, look at that. She's gonna be the L'Oreal, you know, shining off with her wings. 829 in terms of the KDA, 7K for the gold, 25% damage done. That's a quarter of the team. So, you know, she's doing pretty well for herself. And yeah, definitely, even though she got caught, or he got caught on that L'Oreal a couple of times, it did not deter the presence that this L'Oreal had for ExDee Gaming's, well, you know, plan to get that W on the second game.
Yeah, it's another question, whereas it's so close between these two teams, ExDee Gaming and OurAbditory. I feel like it may come down to drafting, but from what we discussed earlier, it will really go down to that macro decision.
So we'll just get into our draft for the final game of the night. Murad out for the count. OurAbditory looking to redeem themselves from a really, I would say, questionable loss. Like not really questionable, but a devastating loss to them because it should have been not really that simple to lose.
Exactly. I mean, going over to their draft from earlier, if they do lock this Lubu in, it's like, hey, it's super serious time. OurAbditory, these are the type of... Oh, never mind, it's not a Lubu, but it's a very familiar draft, like from SG, MY, and PH, or sometimes back then when heroes weren't added, it's sort of similar to the Taiwanese meta. But yes, ExDee Gaming with that max first pick, which would mean nothing would most likely shut down the L'Oreal in terms of like just charging in and landing that CC. It also cancel out a potential Maganga pick. So for me, I wouldn't really recommend that Maganga pick there because it wouldn't be maximized as it has that shock debuff from that max.
Yeah, we're definitely getting deeper into the hero pools of these players. I really like this Max and Joker pick, not only because Joker is a super decent marksman, it is also because he is one of those side lane counters to the Max. We've seen that before, the matchup wherein, you know, Joker kind of punishes the Max. If OurAbditory was able to get their hands on this Joker, they might actually employ that certain strategy and, you know, put this Joker, or rather Shiny, on a weird perspective, and he's gonna be playing in a rather bad matchup there. So to kind of finish off their composition, it's gonna be the Lindis and the Crest here for our ExDee, and that's gonna be pretty interesting. Lots of T5 with the Crest.
Yeah, I mean, looking at ExDee Gaming's composition, it spells let's end this early because that's 3 range damage dealers. L'Oreal, good, they've got Lindis, they've got, but at the same time they have that late game scaling composition, except that it's a bit tricky because they might lack that front line and as well as assassins, their melee assassins as well. But on the other side of the spectrum, it's still pretty standard. They still got that Ryoma. Sendiel as well, I feel like it's going to be one of those things that's the good split pusher, and as well as just to counter that global presence as well of the Max. So I'm guessing we're going to see a lot of Max and Sendiel matchups in this tournament.
Yeah, Max and Zenial matchups. I mean, I feel like it should always go to the side of the Max unless Zenial was given a leg up in that matchup. So for now, this is the last game of the night. Guys, there on our viewers, put in the chat who do you want to watch or want to win, ExDee Gaming or OurAbditory. Let's get into the match already. See who will win this one.
Yes, sirree. Again, looking back at game number 1's draft, OurAbditory seemed to be more comfy with that Murad pick. And knowing the fact that they've picked up a Zephys jungle, it plays sort of similar, but not as safe as the Murad where he could blink out of danger. But level 1, they're contesting this buff.
OurAbditory has had enough of, you know, shenanigans. Let's just go level 1 and push everybody away. They have the jungle, they have those tight corners, so they'll be able to use that Parade Wave to huge and possibly even deadly extent. The Ryoma will not be lucky enough to get that buff for himself. But look at this, the Joker is proxying the wave here just to make sure that his own wave will definitely absorb or be absorbed by that tower ever so well. So that's going to be something interesting to kind of see, you know, a proxy Joker on the side lane.
Exactly. Knowing the fact that a lot of members are present at that blue golem right there, it just leaves the Joker to have that space and do that proxy. And I feel like it's going to be not a huge lead, but at the same time, it's going to help him out in this laning phase. But going back to OurAbditory, let's see. This might be the first gank of the game with that rocket hitting that Ryoma there. Super, like, half HP, forced to get that health pack.
Everybody is actually just colliding or collapsing into this bottom area, and you know that they want to fight for this major objective, but it seems like OurAbditory is in no ways gonna be able to actually do this. Conquistador kind of wanted to go for that initiation. It looked really good on paper there, but because he was a little bit tad alone, he's gonna get blown up, and the damage will force OurAbditory away. And this should be a free Abyssal Dragon. Ryoma wanted to go for steal, but it's really not gonna happen for him.
Exactly. I mean, this is what we've been talking about. Early to mid game is ExDee Gaming's scenario, or their perfect scenario on how to make their composition work. For OurAbditory, that's going to be First Blood, going to Pain, eliminating the Ryoma. I'm guessing that's a awesome snipe from downtown. But look at that, Sentinel actually being contested here by ExDee Gaming. Let's see if there's going to be a steal or whatsoever. Looks like no, as that's already done. But I guess it's just pushing OurAbditory into a playstyle that they're not comfy with. No Murad means no, what do you call this, immense or burst damage from that jungler, but hold that thought, topside is going to have that noodle fight.
Well, it's just going to end right now. They're going to back off. And yeah, it's going to be ExDee Gaming here rotating as a 4-man squad. Another thing I kind of like about gaming here is that, well, they have a Lindis, and the reason why I like this pick right now is that it kind of forces the Ryoma and the Zephys to play even more sneakily, that they have to read where the Lindis puts her vision on so that they don't get spotted out. And it's going to be pretty easy for ExDee Gaming, if they spot this guys out, to kind of catch them off guard, especially when they have a crash in close quarter combat that can have huge amounts of impact like that, with the Metamorphosis putting them into the wayside, as the Praetor Wave will connect onto the one, but this leaves open every other member of OurAbditory for easy pickings for this L'Oreal. Look at that, just the dash forward, the dash back, and she gets the kill left and right. Now there's going to be the Ryoma as well as Yato here, once again on the Zenyo, but I mean, Yato hasn't really gone to great lengths to really be that vanguard for OurAbditory, and he goes down, and well, this Ryoma was basically a byproduct of that loss, and now a second Abyssal Dragon plus 5 kills in the pockets of ExDee Gaming.
Yeah, quad kill on that L'Oreal Dexter as well. I'm not going to be surprised if he's MVP again in our game, as you can tell the positioning and the finesse in terms of, you know, eliminating the important key targets on OurAbditory side. It has been super effective, and I did mention how ExDee Gaming can keep this up, as a lot of the members from OurAbditory, especially that Preda, is going to be reliant on charging those waves. So this means I'm going to be a sitting duck. I'm going to be relying on my teammates to peel for me. That would mean either Ryoma or Senyel or even the Alice. But I am a L'Oreal. I can reposition myself as much as I want. And that huge, hold that thought, we see and engage.
Ooh, that Praetor Wave is not meant for crowd control. It can only do damage and goes down one for one though. But Kaz is looking for even more kills here. Look at that Lindis. Just go in for the sidestep and put so much damage onto Yato. On the opposite side of the map, bottom lane, it's going to be the Joker to actually go and get that tower for himself, pushing out the Ryoma, because Ryoma can't really deal with the Joker, especially when he is that powerful. But this is a 2 versus 1, and Yato is not doing any favors for this Ryoma at all. The killing joke is going to be real, and Pain, he wants to go for it. The masochist himself goes in with the killing joke. Does not get the kill there though, but you can see how ExDee Gaming are controlling this match systematically, deviously. They are ripping through the system of OurAbditory.
Yeah, they're not going to allow them to scale at all, but we'll see. Looks like that's Pain going to flicker away from danger, as Conquistador is at the bot side just to respond and help clear out the waves and scare away Pain. But at this point, you can see that ExDee Gaming, just according to Keikaku or plan, they really wanted to make this competition work. 3 main damage dealers and Dark Player immediately getting taken away.
6-minute Dark Slayer, definitely a XD-ish type of play to kind of happen here. Another Praetor Wave, but like I said again, it's not really crowd control. and this is basically hitting OurAbditory right in the kokoro, as now you can see Pain being blown up or blowing up the Ryoma on the sideways with that 1 versus 1. This is just looking horrible and more. OurAbditory, Conquistador is going to be coming in from the sideways here, but this is just them kind of, I don't know, being dumbfounded by ExDee Gaming.
I feel like I'm watching 2 separate matches. We have Joker on the other side, having his own little 1v1 situations, landing all the poke. It's like playing the shooter game, and Heartseer just immediately falls. Let's see if Pain can escape as the 4 members from ExDee Gaming collides and collapses and joins him in the fight.
Man, they are knocking already at the base 7 minutes into the game. Will ExDee Gaming be another or have another win wherein it is less than 10 minutes? This is the only team that can actually do something like that, and it goes to show Pain is on cloud 9 right now, so to speak. He is in a great situation, actually. There's going to be the mid-tier 1, and it goes down.
Yes, and you can see that the waves coming from Preda aren't exactly as painful as they expected it to be. So OurAbditory is going to be on tower defense mode, except that they don't have that much of damage to actually retaliate or defend from this one. So they have to find that right opportunity. But at this point, you can see everything just explodes in front of Pain's eyes.
They are making mistakes left and right. And aside from that, the lowest level Alice 7 is behind, like, what, 6 levels against Kazui's 13. And ladies and gentlemen, this might actually be it. 8 minutes into the game, they are faltering down one after the other. Zenula is down, and only the Alice to remain. And this is going to be a 9-minute win for ExDee Gaming. OurAbditory has been utterly destroyed in game number 3.
Technically speaking, the winning streak in terms of games have been cut off by OurAbditory. But series-wise, ExDee Gaming still undefeated in our tournament run for the championships here at Arena of Valor India. And as you can tell, they did not stop at all. It was just a matter of how they would, end the game. Because honestly speaking, this is what they've drafted. They've drafted a very late game scaling composition, either relying on snowball. If you don't snowball, then you wait for late game. Obviously, or unfortunately, that did not come, mainly because Pain gave the side laners a hard time, and Zephys was so torn. Okay, my real man's having a hard time. I should probably go down there. But top side was already getting prioritized by the side of ExDee Gaming, which put less security for that Dark Slayer take.
I mean, it can also boil down to the fact that OurAbditory here did not have a marksman.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I mean, it does work sometimes not having a marksman, but yes, you're right. They will lack that damage, that constant, that sustained damage dealer in the backline. And yes, that was more like we're gonna wait for late game, but honestly speaking, it might fail as it's very linear, and having to rely on snowball might not work against ExDee Gaming, as they're the type of team that even if they lose like 1 to 2 skirmishes, they're good at equalizing their losses, and they will take something else at the map.
Yeah, and again, because they have this no marksman lineup, it's very easy for ExDee Gaming to kind of identify which are who are gonna be like those to kind of be worried about. It's gonna be the Zephys or the Ryoma, right? But if you can keep them at bay long enough, and I mean, Lindis and a Joker do that pretty easily. It falls down to the Preda, but Preda kind of just works if you can connect the Preda wave.
Exactly.
If you can't connect that, then it's all for naught. And he did not connect it, well, to a good extent on that game 3, and it just kind of fell apart after that. And they never really kind of retaliated from that deficit that happened early on in game number 3.
Yeah, and even if the Prado waves connected, it wasn't dealing as much of a damage. And again, looks like it's going to be a different person for our MVP of the match. It's going to be Kaz on that Lindis. No deaths whatsoever. Really good rotations. Again, the death squad of ExDee Gaming was Kaz and the L'Oreal as well. And it was just pain. Dealing pain things in the bottom lane and the other lane, giving Realma and Zephys a headache.
Yeah, he was basically gravitating a necessary amount of people from OurAbditory to contest him. And this is only a joker, so to speak. How in the world can a joker go 2 versus 1 and still win that matchup, right?
Yeah, I mean, as long as you have that flicker, as long as you know your matchup well, I feel like I'll keep poking you. It just means that the skill shots kept hitting, and once he knows that one combo is enough, there he goes in with a cam blaster, and everything just fell apart for OurAbditory.
Yeah, and well, that concludes it. This best of 3 has gone its stride. 2-for-1. ExDee Gaming definitely looking to be the stronger team, still undefeated in terms of our results here. And OurAbditory definitely gave them a run for their money for that first game, second game as well. But the third one felt like more of a clean sweep here.
Yes, definitely. And ExDee Gaming can continue. I'm actually curious if they can continue on with this streak, because this is the first time we've actually seen them lost a game. So I'm pretty sure tomorrow will get even more and more intense as we head on over to our semifinals.
All right, so now we're going to be ending the stream, guys, and we will see you bright and early tomorrow about 2:30 p.m. SGT. And that's where we'll be starting our 12 p.m. We'll be seeing you tomorrow on that exact time to give you the the finals or semifinals into the finals of our summer championship right here. Again, my name is Asra. Here with me now is Reed, and we were also joined by Luxuria and I request viewers, players, casters, and even the production. Thank you so much. Again, this has been presented to you by Tencent and produced by Tesseract. And this is the Arena Valor India Championship. We will bid you good night. Adieu.
To fight the greatest battle, you need the greatest warriors. But heroes must be forged in ultimate combat, competing for the ultimate prize.
kills necessary. Lori out dodging out so much damage from the boss. Actually gets the trade-off.